Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voices in the Code. Today, we got a very big episode regarding the new Dataslate coming out for 2025, the first one here. With me is my co-host, the Manta, or I guess now Mommy Manta, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Of course, like before, you can find them on Twitch. We're going to kind of skip really quickly into the stuff because we have a lot to cover. Obviously, we are not going to go too deep into the armies that we don't play. We'll go over them, but we won't be able to give, scathing criticisms on what they got. So just keep that in mind. But with that, we're going to start off with demons because they got something very, very big. There's a lot of things to go over, and I know that you really like demons. How excited are you for this?
I'm nervous. I'm
As you
nervous.
should be. All right.
Oh, God.
So
Okay.
we're going to go over the data slate first, and
Okay.
that is going to be with the introduction of a new demons detachment, actually. Another
Oh,
one. Yeah.
Okay.
So
6 total.
yeah, and I think this is really giving credence to the fact that demons is going to get squatted, if I'm being completely honest.
No, no, don't say that. I don't like that. Okay, what is it?
So I believe it's called Shadow Legion. I actually didn't write down the name, but I believe it's Shadow Legion. Yeah, Shadow Legion.
Makes sense.
So this is how it works, right? This is the rule for the detachment. It says you cannot take demon princes of any kind, right? Or epic heroes. The only exception to that is Be'lakor. But in exchange, you were able to take a handful of Chaos Space Marine units. So this is like your soup list.
Okay.
Now it's not all the Chaos units, but you couldn't bring every variation of Chaos Lords, Terminators, Chosen, Damned, Havocs, Legionaries, Master of Possessed, the Possessed, Raptors, Chaos Sorcerers, and Warp Talons. And you can bring up to, it depends on the game size, but it's basically 500, 1000, and 1500. So for the sake of what we play, you can basically take 1000 points or half of your list with Chaos Space Marines. What are your thoughts on that so far?
I think the only reason you would do that is to have guns. So really, the only
Mhm.
reason to take is Havocs.
Okay.
I don't know why you would want like the melee units from Space Marines in Demons. Demons
Oh.
are like a massive melee army.
Well, we're gonna get right to
especially
that.
since- Oh no.
So here's what you got to know, right? Be'lakor
Okay.
and CSM units have the Shadow Legion undivided rule, right? So it's basically doing like the marks.
Okay.
Be'lakor and CSM are undivided, and then the normal demons based on their gods get rules, right? So Khorne, all the Khorne units get to advance, shoot, and charge.
Wow.
Pretty good, right? And this isn't limited to like, oh, Khorne units that are mounted. No, it's just Khorne. If it's Khorne, it gets it. Same with
Is that just
Mhm.
demons or just the Heretic Astartes?
no, these are just Khorne demons. All CSM are Chaos Legion undivided, and we'll go over what they get.
Okay.
So Khorne gets advanced, shoot, and charge. Tzeentch gets -1 to hit on all attacks. Nurgle gets -1 to wound if it's a higher strength that's hitting them, so basically transhuman.
Okay, yeah.
And then Slaanesh gets that those demons cannot be targeted by the Overwatch stratagem. Yeah, right? They've been doing a lot of that
Oh
lately.
my god.
Now,
Okay.
this is the crazy part.
Okay.
Now, if you remember, Undivided includes Be'lakor and CSM.
Yeah.
Undivided units get the Dark Pax ability from the Chaos book. So that is, if you pass a leadership test, you get to, well, you have to take a leadership. If you fail it, you take D3 mortal wounds, and then you get to choose whether you want sustain or lethal hits. Now, not only does Undivided get Dark Pax, which means that Be'lakor has Dark Pax, but CSM units in the Shadow Legion Undivided can also Deep Strike. No restriction.
Wow.
So, kind of going to what you were saying about why would you choose, it's because now
Yeah.
you can get a 10-man block of Possess and Deep Strike them.
Yeah, that's sick.
It is actually kind of insane.
That's really cool.
right?
Alright, well,
Now-
that's a great way to make possess like playable units.
So, going over the strats really quickly, basically, 1 CP, any phase that a unit was destroyed. If it's, so this was kind of weird. It's basically, if a unit was destroyed, an enemy that was within the last model to die, right, engagement range, Enemy units take D3 mortal wounds on a 4 to a 5 and a flat 3 on a 6. So it's kind of like a deadly demise, so to speak. The difference is, well, you need to have a 4 and a 5 to have a D3 mortal wounds, and then it's a flat 3 on a 6.
Oh, right.
Right.
That's garbage. I don't like
So it gets 2 to the results if it was a Slanesh unit that died, which I think makes it a little bit better because your Slanesh unit is going to be in engagement range.
Yeah, that made it a lot better. That made it way better.
The next one is pretty good. It's 1 CP Lance on a unit in the fight phase that charged, right? Because you need a charge to get Lance. And then if it was a Corn Demon, it gets +1 AP. So,
oh my god.
Pretty fat. Yeah, it basically gets +1 to wound, +1 AP if it was a Corn unit.
That's insane for Bloodletters.
Yeah.
That's actually gross.
The next one is in the command phase. 1 unit can heal up to 3 wounds. But if it was a Tzeentch unit, you get to return 1 destroyed model, excluding characters, with full wounds. Which I didn't see. I didn't see restrictions to monsters, so Lord of Changes aren't characters, right?
Yes, they are.
Oh, they are? Okay. I thought they were just monsters.
No, they are characters.
Well, then I don't know.
No. You could use it on flamers, that's funny.
Yeah. So, 1 CP, 1 CSM, and 1 demon unit. You can target 2 of them, and there's no range restriction. So it's 1 CSM unit somewhere in the field and 1 demon. In shooting, they get to ignore cover, which is basically +1 AP for the most part.
That is actually insane, because Lords of Change have their Master of Magics, where they get to pick ignore cover, lethal hits, or sustain on each shooting phase.
Yeah.
So they basically get 2. And then also you put on your Havocs.
Yeah, and your Havocs can still dark packs, so
yeah, that's crazy actually. That's really good.
So 1 CP, end of fight phase, 1 CSM, and 1 demon unit outside of engagement range can be put back into reserves. So basically, once they're done fighting, if they're not within fight distance, they get to pull back.
Wow.
And then the 2 CP one is when your opponent declares a charge, you can subtract 2 from their charge roll, and if the unit that's being charged is a Nurgle unit, you can force a battle shock test to them. 2 CP kind of meh.
2 CP is a big yikers, especially when it's like the Nurgle one, and it's like, is that not exactly the point of my Nurgle units?
Yeah, it's a bit
to get
weird.
Charged. That's weird. I don't like that one. The rest of them are really good, especially the pickup one. The pickup one are like Blood Crushers.
Yeah.
And is it restricted to monsters?
I didn't see any restrictions when I looked it over.
Jesus Christ. So you can also pick up like Lords of Change, Bloodthirsters.
I think so, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, like I said, I compiled all this in like 2 to 3 hours. I'm running on like 16 hours of sleep, so I did miss something. I was going to say that later. Like, please double check this stuff yourself. But I think I did a pretty good job. I like triple checked my work. So
that is wild.
Yeah, so let's move on to the enhancements. I think all of these apply to only models, not units. So that's a little weird.
Okay.
But I don't have points costs, but Leaping Shadows is an enchantment that gives Scout 9 on a model. Pretty solid. I can imagine you could get that to a Corn unit or something.
Wow.
Or Corn model, rather. Mantle of Gloom. You subtract 1 OC when you're within engagement range of every enemy model that you're like in engagement range of. So basically, like if you, I don't know, put this on some model, Chaos Lord, I guess, and you push that towards an objective, they basically get like the Skitarii Vanguard ability where they reduce OC, which is pretty nice. Yeah. Fate to Darkness,
and depending on how much it costs.
Yeah, no, a lot of these are subjective. I didn't see any points cost, but I could be totally wrong.
Okay, Fate of Darkness.
Fate to Darkness is end of fight phase. A model can return to reserves if it destroyed an enemy unit and it's not within engagement. So it's kind of like the stratagem that we were talking about earlier.
That's
yeah. I didn't see that it also was restricted out of character, or like of anything. So I'm pretty sure you can like Scarbrand, go destroy something, and then pull him out, and then bring him back in.
A hero, you cannot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. So then I don't know, Chaos Lord.
Chaos Lord or any of the demons, really. Like a Keeper of Secrets with that would be hilarious.
Is Keeper of Secrets a character?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Oh, well, no, you can take characters. It's just not epic heroes.
All Greater Demons are characters.
Okay. The next one is Malice Made Manifest, which is at the start of the fight phase. Enemy units within engagement range is selected. On a 2 to 5, they take D3 mortal wounds, and on a 6, they take a flat 3. So it's kind of like those last two are kind of mirroring the CP. Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Okay. So here's the big ones. Here's the really, really big part.
Okay.
Be'lakor is looking fucking gross. So he went up to T11. I believe he was T10 before.
I will check.
He now has
yes.
Yeah. Okay. He went up to a 3+ save flat. So yeah, he's a little bit better on the save. He got 2 extra wounds, so now he's 20 wounds.
Wow.
As we mentioned before, in this detachment, he has dark packs. Yep. And part of the detachment rule is that he automatically passes dark packs.
Ooh, oh.
So you will never take damage on him.
So, yeah.
And then his blade now has devastating wounds, which is ugh.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I
mean, that's wow.
He has a new shadow ability, so his aura's changed.
Okay.
So in the battle shock step of your opponent's command phase, an enemy unit that's below starting strength within 9 inches of him takes a battle shock test. If they fail, he heals D3 mortal wounds. That's just like an ability for him.
That's funny.
Then he has the within 6 inches you get an 18-inch lone op, and then he has still the within 6 inches you reroll hit rolls of 1. Now, the biggest part I think is 1, the battle shock thing, and 2, the fact that he just got like a flat stat increase.
Yeah.
And he looks good overall in my opinion. And because of that, he went up 50 points. Now, I think you still take him because the dark packs really, really overpowers him here.
Yeah.
But we'll see that as we see how the meta turns out.
Did they expand Wreathed in Shadows to Heretic Astartes units as well?
I think so. I actually don't know.
Wreathed in Shadows only affects demons.
Okay.
As of right now.
Yeah, we'll have to double check and maybe
that's
fill
the
it.
one.
Yeah.
Because the one that is changed from what you said is that the reroll to hit one is different from Shadow Lord.
Okay.
Shadow Lord gives reroll battle shock and leadership tests for demons, and instead he's getting a reroll hit so far.
Okay.
Which is much worse than the other two.
I would imagine that it probably affects them, but I'm not 100% certain. That's something we could probably.
It would be weird if they made like him have a suit like detachment, and then also his auras don't affect Heretic Astartes.
Yeah, I think maybe it'll specify Shadow Legion Undivided or Shadow Legion Demonica or something like that, because a bunch of units can gain different keywords in this detachment.
Okay.
It's a bit much to keep track of, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now the downside. This is really
downside.
All right. Korn.
Okay.
Karanak, the Death Doggy, is no longer in the game. He has been moved to Legends.
No!
All Slanesh chariots have been removed. Hellflayers, Seeker chariots, gone.
Oh, yikes. I mean, no one took them, but yikes. I don't like that. Yikes.
Here's the big one. Here's the really, really big one. I don't have the data sheet in front of me, but I do remember that last time I was live streaming. The live stream is up on the channel too if you want to check it out. We were covering the Emperor's Children Codex, right? And we saw that there was a bunch of demons there in addition. Okay, so if you saw the live stream, you saw that a lot of Slanesh units became marginally worse in Emperor's Children. All those data sheets got moved to the index of demons. So all those downsides are now in the demons army. That includes Shalaxi. So Shalaxi doesn't have. She has that one at the start of the battle round, or the first battle round. You select a unit, and then they get reroll, hit roll, and reroll wound rolls to just that one model. The reroll, advance, and charge. All those downsides that Shalaxi got are now present in the demon index. Yeah, same with I believe it was Fiends don't have -1 to hit anymore. A lot of downsides.
Yeah.
So Slanesh is basically dead.
Yeah, Slanesh is garbage.
Yeah,
like,
it really sucks.
Yikes. I mean, okay, out of the 3 of them, Nurgle is the worst, but right after that is Slanesh, because really the only good Slanesh units are Keepers and Shalaxi.
Yeah, I mean Shalaxi had their reign of terror,
Yeah, but now
But this is
Shalaxi
like,
is bad. But
yeah,
now-
this is bad. Now the thing is, later we're gonna get into Legion of Excess because they also got changes.
Oh, that was quick. Okay.
But before we get into that, we're gonna continue with the detachments. Tau got a new detachment. I'm actually really excited for this one because I'm a battlesuit lover. The retaliation cadre. Yeah, the retaliation cadre was mainly like crisis suits and being up close and personal. This one's more my idea, where it's just like models or the models of the battle suits getting super buffed. So it's called the experimental prototype cadre. They kind of get, I think it was the Borkin rule back in 8th edition. The detachment is add 6 to range weapons of Tau Empire models, so this does not affect crew or any auxiliary. The enhancements, I didn't get all of them down because they're all kind of the same, but basically they buff the strength, damage, AP, etc. of selected weapons. So, for instance, there's one that's like, oh, a Tau airburst fragmentation projector specifically gets +2 strength and +1 damage or something like that. Or a specific Tau flamer on a battlesuit gets +2 strength and +1 AP or something. So what it's basically doing is it's giving your battlesuits like a supercharged weapon, so you have like these very important battlesuits with experimental prototypes, right? Now, the stratagems tend to focus on the battlesuits as well. They have something along the lines of like a battlesuit regaining D3 +1 wounds, getting transhuman -1 a wound if the strength is higher. They have a really cool one where they kind of like overload their weapons to gain stats. So it was something like, I think you add 1 to the strength, or you add 1 to the strength and 1 to the AP, but you gain hazardous. So like you're overcharging them, which I think is super fucking sick.
That is fine. I mean, hazardous never does anything, so it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, especially when your suits have a lot of wounds on them too. So like,
Right.
yeah, like I would totally overcharge a say, what's the name of these guys? A broadside battlesuit if it meant that I maybe take 2 wounds, but I get sustained hits 1 and AP 1. Like that broadside is going to do some serious damage. So that's really quick, the Tau detachment. Custodes also got a new detachment. A lot of people are excited for this one because it's kind of like giving the Custodes fantasy. So it's add 1 to hit and wound for Custodes models, not vehicles, that are within 6 inches, that are not within 6 inches of each other. So the more spread apart they are, the more super buff they get. So add 1 to hit doesn't really matter all the time, right? Because you hit on 2s as Custodes. +1 a wound is fat though. And the add 1 to hit is really nice if somebody's has like -1 to hit for whatever reason, right? So you just kind of like default back to 2. Now you have to play a little bit more spread out. Custodes likes their characters, and this is a little bit more character focused. So there's like an enchantment that you put on a unit. No, I think it's a model, and they revive on a 2+. Another
I hate that.
another model can get like lone op and stealth. There's another one that's like specifically for shield captains where they get +2 attack for every 5 models they're fighting. And then another one for the shield captain where he gets +3 strength, +1 AP, and +1 damage. So this is very like character centric. So are the stratagems, to where like you're kind of spreading all your guys out, and the farther they are apart, the more they can handle things themselves, right? So they're really taking that like one Custodes can deal with anything kind of thing.
I mean, that is cool, but Custodes is cringe.
So yet another detachment. Orcs got a new one. And I know a lot of people were saying that Orcs doesn't have like their shooting stuff, right? If you remember, I think it was before I played. It was the time that you played. Orcs had like that ability where they got sustained 2 or whatever on their shooting, right?
Oh,
like where they hit on 5 or 6s, but if they hit a 6, they got like 2 extra hits or whatever.
Yeah, Mordaka, I think.
So I'm pretty sure that's the name of the detachment. It's called Mordaka, and during your shooting, Orc infantry and walkers get sustained hits too. So they kind of just brought it back.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I mean, that's nice, I guess, but Orc shooting is piss, so who cares?
So they also get assault on all their weapons if it's their wall turn, which is like their once per battle pop thing, right? So enchantments again here target specific models. So there's one where an Orc model gets devastating wounds and hazardous on their shooting, I believe. The other one is an Orc model gets rapid fire 1 on enhancement. The other one is +1 to hit on an Orc model, and the other one is an Orc model can fall back and shoot. So based on the rule, it says that walkers get this. I'm assuming that there's maybe some walkers that you want to take advantage since like it's specific models. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know anything about Orcs.
I don't know much either, but
I mean, even Flash gets hit on 5, so that's like the shooting.
Yeah, well now they can, you know, I don't know. We're not
I
gonna
don't
stay
know.
too much on this one.
This
Um,
is
the
meaningless rule.
yeah, the stratagems are more generalist. So like one is like 1 CP and they get to wah, even if they already used the ability. So you kind of just give them the army
That
rule.
one seems crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty good. There's one where it's like reroll wound rolls of 1 up to full rerolls on an objective if they're fighting. Um, they have a shoot back. This one's pretty cool, I think. So they can shoot back at somebody who shot them if they killed a model. So say you have a squad of like 20 somethings, and then somebody kills it and you go down to 19. Now they can all shoot back. But they have to target the unit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So now we're kind of gonna go into the changes that basically puts everything that we were going over in terms of detachments, which
Okay.
now is the proper data slate, I guess, if you want to call it that. So, sisters, miracle dice got
Okay.
super nerfed last balanced
Yay!
data slate. They're kind of turning that back. I'm a little salty because
No.
I've already said it out loud before, and I'll say it again. I think that yes, sisters got over tweaked and they needed a buff, but it's just kind of crazy that AdMech went without a buff for so long, and sisters got one like the moment after. You know what I mean? Now they're not like back to their full power, right? What they basically got is that a miracle dice can now be gained when a unit is destroyed. So now they kind of fixed the amount of dice they get, because before they got too much, then they got too little. Maybe this will put them right where they need to be, right?
Okay.
All the other changes for the data slate, so the Triumph of St. Catherine and the Bringer of Flames changes, those are all staying. The only difference was that now you get miracle dice when a unit is destroyed. We'll see how it does. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because they went from like one of the best armies in the game to like one of the worst, and then maybe this will
Yeah.
bring them back up to something.
Well, it's because they have a bullshit rule.
Yes.
Miracle dice are stupid.
Custodes got a change with the Solar Spearhead detachment. That's the one where they take a bunch of Telemon dreadnoughts and stuff.
Okay.
The Unstoppable stratagem, which I believe only worked in the charge phase, basically was like the one where they can move through terrain as if it's not there. Very important for the dreadnought, right?
Right.
They basically now got it that they could work on charge phase and movement phase, so they could like kind of use it better, right? All right, next up, no AdMech changes. Wow. Again, I think it's a bit crazy that Sisters was kind of along the same bar that we were at. Like, we were doing a little bit better than them recently, but over the course of the entire data slate, we've kind of been like around the same, right? Like, they've been slightly lower than us. But as I mentioned before, AdMech has received buff after buff after buff, and we've been here, right? We are at the point where the worst of Sisters is the best of AdMech, and AdMech received no changes while Sisters received changes. It's actually kind of fucking wild. You know what I mean? I don't know. I really don't have much words other than that, man.
I actually cannot believe that. That's so
Again,
crazy.
I think that's the crazy part is if you take Sisters into consideration, right? This is why I have so much, like, it's not really directed at Sisters. It's just the point being that, like, Sisters was best army in the game. I don't want AdMech to be best army in the game. I want them to be reasonable, right? Sisters got brought down to our level, and then they immediately got changed. When our codex came out, we didn't receive a change for 6 months, right? And again, Sisters at their lowest is us at our highest. So I don't know. Okay. Anyway,
That's just so insane. Why? I don't understand.
Dude, I don't know.
Are
It's-
they waiting for like the book?
For AdMech,
Yeah.
the codex already came out. It came out a year ago.
Oh, I thought we were doing new ones.
No.
Oh.
No.
That makes it so much worse.
We might get a new detachment because every other army got one, but I wouldn't hold my breath. You know.
That is insane. That is so unbelievably funny.
Anyway, Eldari got some changes to Azerman. I don't know if he's had a different keyword before, but now he has anti-infantry 5 on his ability. I don't know much about Eldar. We'll just move on. Guard got a lot of changes. I kind of know Guard. The Bridgehead detachment, which is the one that focuses on Scions, came out in Grotmus. It was really, really strong. So their old rule used to be that when they set up or disembarked from a transport, they would get +1 a wound. Really, really big on Guard, considering how much guns they have.
Yeah.
But now they changed it to add 1 to the hit roll instead of add 1 to the wound roll. Kind of brings them in a little bit.
Yeah, that does definitely bring them in. I mean, I think they're
Yeah.
pretty universally skill 4, but
Yeah, I mean, like with guard orders, you can bring them up to 3 with like first rank
right,
fire.
that's like the whole point. Yeah.
Right. So the firing hot stratagem for them got changed to 2 CP, and now they have to target a unit within 12. So it basically says one Militarum or Kazarkin unit that has not been selected to shoot. Until end of phase, you improve the strength and armor penetration of hot shot las guns or las carbines or las pistols or marksman rifles or volley guns by 1. So now that went up to 2.
Okay. I think Kazarkin are overcosted. Because if that's improving the strength and the armor pen rate,
yeah,
that puts hotshot to strength 4, AP -2, which is not bad.
Right, but they get +1 to hit, or they had +1 to wound on their old detachment, so that makes them a little bit better. I can see why they did that. I think, if I remember correctly, guard players were just like auto casting that all the time. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's +1 strength.
And then Krieg engineers, like combat engineers, they had a mine ability. I think it used to be within 12 inches. They were able to just deal D3 mortal wounds to something, or 2d3 if it was a vehicle or a fortification. They changed that to 9 inches, so you have to be closer, and you have to be visible. That is something we're going to see with orcs too, because I think they're just trying to rein in this like out of line of sight D3 mortals kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. That is silly. That is.
Yeah, especially when you have so many, right? Because you're playing guard.
Yeah. You just take 3 interviews.
No Blood Angels changes. We'll kind of touch on that with Space Marines. No Chaos Knight changes. No Black Templar changes. No CSM changes. And now we go on again to demons. This is going to be crazy.
Oh boy.
Legion of Excess is severely neutered.
No.
So
why?
It was one of the best armies in the game, to be fair.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Now it wasn't like unbeatable. I think Eldar Codex release has taken that.
Yeah.
But anyway, Legions of Excess, Seductive Gambit, right? Now it only does reroll to hits and wounds of 1. The only time that changes is if you get full hit rerolls and only wound rerolls of 1 if you're within your Shadow of Chaos.
Yikes.
Significantly worse.
Like
huge.
Yeah, that's a lot worse.
Yeah.
That is really rough. Okay.
Yeah. Then we have Thieves of Pain. That one changed. I guess people were taking Soul Grinders in this detachment to reallocate them to Soul Grinders because they have a lot of wounds or something. But now Thieves of Pain cannot be used to reallocate to a monster or from a monster or a vehicle. And then the unit that's taking the wounds has to be within 9 inches, and they need to be visible, so they can't just be over a wall.
Yikes. Yeah, that's just a complete nerf to that. That nerfs like literally every part of the strategy.
Yeah.
Yikes. Okay.
Overwhelming Excess got nerfed. So that's the one that like you take a battle shock test, if you fail, yada yada yada. So now it works in shooting and fighting, so there's that. But now you just subtract 1 from hit roll. You do not get to like redirect or not be able to target that unit. You also don't get the battle shock test.
Oh, yikes. Wow, that's like so much worse. Jesus Christ. Okay.
And then
it's pretty bad.
The last note I have here is huge changes to Shalaxi. We've kind of went over them already. Shalaxi, yeah. Kairos got nerfed. His CP regen is now a command phase leadership check. So there's that. I believe before he just used to flat out give you one in your command phase, right?
No. Kairos's rule was when you use a stratagem on when you target a friendly Zinch unit within 6 inches of this model, roll a d6. If that result is greater than the battle round number, you get the 1.
Oh, I see. Okay, so no, he doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah, that is a lot worse.
Crazy part, they didn't nerf Gilliman, so he's still stronger, but they nerfed Kairos for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, that is weird, because Kairos isn't, like, that good of a unit.
Yeah.
His shooting is kind of just strictly worse than most Lords of Change in a lot of ways. And
right.
He really just has, like, a couple of extra wounds that gives him the edge on a local Lord of Change.
But don't worry, because Gilliman can still reduce CP by 1 and also double oath, so what's the problem?
I fucking hate Space.
we'll get into them here in a bit. They got a couple changes, but the Great Unclean One received some changes.
Okay.
The Bile Sword Strike attack profile went from a strength 8 to strength 10, and the damage went from d6 to d6 plus 1. He also, I don't know if this was there before, but I didn't see it. He now has an innate 6 plus Feel No Pain. And then the Demon Lord aura changed the 6-inch Feel No Pain thing that he used to give to Nurgle units near him to them adding +1 to toughness. So I think that maybe that's a downside. As far as I know, Endless Gifts is still a thing. So
yeah, Endless Gift is still a thing in Demonic Incursion.
Right.
I mean, that makes Plague Bearer's toughness 6, which is fine.
Right.
But are you bringing that many? The thing is that you're just not really bringing that many Nurgle units in most of your demon armies.
Right, right.
Like, I really only bring them because I don't really know what else to spend these points on that can, like, sit on an objective and do nothing else the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you bring them, and usually the Great Unclean One isn't up, or isn't back there with the Plague
but
Worker.
then they're not with him, so what is his aura?
Scarbrand received some changes. He has a +2 to move, so now he's a total of 10 inches movement. He also has a 3+ save instead of 4, like Be'lakor got. The Bellow Flamer, the Bellow of Endless Fury, I think it's called, got it changed from strength 5 to strength 8 and AP 0 to AP 1. That's pretty big.
Okay.
Yeah, if we remember that one Shadow Legion thing also allows him to advance, shoot, and charge, which is pretty nice. Oh, that's right. Yeah. His sweep profile went from AP 1 to AP 2. Pretty fat. And his Murder Lust ability got changed. He used to do the denying fallback to units within 6 on a failed battle shock, or leadership rather. Now he just has advance and charge, which
that's much better. That's so much better.
It just lets him get in there.
Does he get a points increase?
We'll go over that. I don't know.
Okay, because holy fuck.
Flesh Hounds got changed. They used to have. Yeah, no, I misread it. It's at the end of your opponent's turn. If this unit is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, you can remove it and put it back in its reserves. So, yeah. It used to have Heroic Intervention. Now it has this.
That's way better, because Heroic Intervention, that I think in the games that I've used, Flesh Hounds, which is like 3, I've used that once.
Yeah. At least now you can reposition them out of, like, board edge and then just, or deep strike them, right? And then, like, get into an objective that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get into.
I get it's fine. I mean, they just don't, in my experience, they just don't really do anything. I mean, they have that critical number of 5 instead of 6 on their strength, so they don't really eat garbage.
Right.
-1, but they can't really kill Space Marines until they have -1.
Right. And 1 damage. Yeah.
So they kind of just don't do anything.
Next we have the Beast of Nurgle. He's just got Scout 6, so now he's faster.
Okay.
I don't know how often you're gonna use that, considering that he has Deep Strike, but
yeah.
The bigger part, the way bigger part is his OC increased from 2 to 3. Now that isn't like huge, but like the fact that he's a little bit better at contesting points, as he already does by just regaining his wounds, I think is kind of nice. I don't think it's like massive, right? But I think it's like, 1 OC up is pretty good.
You can take 2 with a unit.
Well, there you go. Now you have 6.
So that's 6. I mean, I think that's kind of huge. It's like a 33% increase for the unit.
Yeah.
And if they're gonna kill anything, which they probably won't, it's gonna be trash.
Right, which is what they're probably gonna be contesting.
Yeah, they're gonna like deep strike. If it's just really how I used to play with them, deep strike him in the back line, eat whatever garbage unit is holding the home objective, and then just like sit there forever.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
We'll see. I know that they're kind of annoying to deal with, at least from past experience. So,
I mean, Team 9 is irrational.
So this is the last change, I believe, to demons.
Okay.
And it's the Nurglings. So they used to have the -1 to hit when anything is within 6 inches of them. Yeah. Now it's each time an enemy unit within engagement range of 1 or more units is selected to fight, until the end of the phase they get -1 to hit in melee. So they have to be in engagement range of something, right? They can't just like be around something and give it -1 to hit. So nerf there, basically.
Yeah, that's just much worse to a unit that has got a lot of nerfs already.
Yeah, right. They've seen a lot of changes this edition.
I think that is officially the death knell of running Nurglings. I don't know if anyone runs Nurglings anyway, but that
Yeah,
really
here
makes
or
them
there.
into, like,
But yeah.
that makes them like 40 points that literally doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it's also a kind of indirect nerf to Death Guard in a way because they ran quite a bit of Nurglings. So
Yeah, they are kind of worthless.
um speaking of Death Guard, no changes to them, no changes of Dark Angels, no changes to Death Watch, no changes to Drakari, no changes to Gene Stealer, a small change to Grey Knights. So their Grossmith's attachment was like I don't remember the name, but it's called like the ability is called Hollowed Ground. It's a lot like the Warp, Shadows of the Warp, where if you control, not Shadows of the Warp, Shadows, Shadows of Chaos. Yeah. So it behaves a lot of the same way. They used to be able to get reroll hits of 1 or full rerolls to hit if they were targeting something in their Hallowed Ground, or vice versa. They were being abused by a unit that allowed them to indirect fire and then reroll their hits. So now they basically said you have to have a visible target. So you can't just get indirect hit rerolls. You just can't abuse indirect anymore, basically, with that rule.
They're doing that across the board, though. So.
Yeah, they're kind of nerfing indirect across the board, and this is just following that. No changes to Imperium agents, no changes to Imperium Knights. Votan received a change. I think it's a really good change.
Okay.
So before they used to have like the judgment token thing, where if they have 1 judgment token, it's +1 a hit. If they have a 2, they have +1 a hit and wound, right? That used to be specifically for the Oathband detachment. Now they gave it to the army rule, right?
Oh, wow, that's a huge buff.
Yeah, so Oathband used to give you 4 targets, now it gives you 2. But the army rule gives you 2, right? So Oathband didn't really change. It's just saying the army rule gives you 2 targets, Oathband gives you 2 additional, which now gives you 4 in total, as it used to be. But what this does is that it allows you to play with judgment tokens on other detachments, like Hearthband, right?
Yeah.
So it just kind of like fleshes out the army, gives it a little bit more internal balance there.
Well, they should be food.
No Necron changes. Orcs got a change to Tank Bustas. It's kind of the same as like the Krieg bomb, the mines that they had. They can only use 1 bomb squig within 12 inches invisible to a unit to deal D3 mortal wounds on a 3-up, of a D6. So basically the same thing. They just have to be visible in order to use that ability. All right.
This whole time you haven't mentioned Tyranids and very nervous.
Don't worry. Space Marines.
I don't.
So the iteration of Oath of Moments that gave full rerolls to hit on a unit and then +1 to wound if you were running no, like, I guess you want to call it supplement, right? So like Dark Angels, Blood Angels, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
It was being abused by something called Bloodless Angels, right? Because what people would do is bring Blood Angel units, but not Blood Angel characters, to turn it into like the Blood Angels army, right? So they were able to run Codex, or they were able to run their detachments, but with the +1 to wound, right? Which kind of defeated the purpose, because the idea was to give that giant buff to the Codex Space Marines detachments, right? So that they have more power. Blood Angels is doing fine without it, but then Blood Angels were kind of like, hey, technically, we could get the +1 to wound because we just don't have to run X scenario. So that's why they call them Bloodless Angels, because it was Blood Angels without like the Blood Angels characters and the things that would make them Blood Angels. So they changed it to where Oath of Moments now only works on Codex Space Marine detachments, not from supplements. So you can't run like a Blood Angels detachment or a Dark Angels detachment and then get the +1 to wound that way.
Anything that makes Space Marines worse gets an upvote from me.
Well, Gilliman didn't get. The thing is, like, this is only stopping the abuse of other other chapters, but like Ultramarines is still the problem in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they didn't get much changes. The Stormlands detachment from the Codex Space Marines got a change to Swift Evasion strat. Now it targets infantry and mounted specifically, which was a reactive move. Kind of weird because, as somebody from Art of War brought up, the Stormlands detachment was so underplayed that it didn't even have data on like stat checks and datas and shit. So it just kind of feels like a very targeted nerf.
What the fuck do Space Marines have that's mounted?
Bikes.
Oh, those count? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's be like, what?
The Lieutenant in Phobos armor had a reactive move ability, and it didn't specify that he could charge after using it. So now it does. Basically, now it says if you use this ability, you cannot declare a charge this turn. Uriel Ventress, he had he had an ability called Master of the Fleet, and it basically allowed him to give units deep strike, right? Now this was abused with Centurions, Devastator Centurions specifically, so they can deep strike and destroy things. Now it specifies it allows only one Phobos, Gravis, or Tacticus unit, so Centurions can no longer take it, Vanguard, Space Marines can no longer take it. Kind of takes away the cheese in a way.
Anything that nerfs Space Marines, I upvote.
It's funny because like they said like, yeah, you guys can't deep strike, but this entire CSM detachment can deep strike.
Yeah, see, big upvote. Big thumbs up from me.
No changes to Space Wolves, no changes to Tau, but they did get the new detachment. No changes to Thousand Suns, and no changes to Tyranids.
Yay! Upvote! Yay!
And then lastly, no changes to World Eaters.
Okay, I mean that's cool.
Yeah.
No changes to Tyranids. Upvote. Fuck you, fuck you.
So that's the data slate without the points. We'll go over the points here in a second, but
that is insane to change nothing in Tyranids though. There's a lot of broken shit.
Yeah, we kind of ran through it really quick, so just to slow down a little bit here, just kind of give me your thoughts so far on everything you've heard.
Most of it seems fine. I don't really think the orc thing is going to change anything. I mean, we don't really play against orcs, or I don't play against orcs like ever.
Yeah.
But like that Ballistic Seal 5, like I don't think I heard anything that changes that. So who cares?
Mm-hmm.
So who cares? I mean, it's just going to be like the old days where your orc player opponent rolls 800 dice in the shooting phase and it's 3 wounds.
Yeah, so AdMech basically.
I didn't hear any Gene Stealer Cults changes, which is like, okay.
Yeah. I actually did forget one change to orcs now that you mention it. It's well, I want to say small change. It's kind of big. Their Tactical Brigade detachment, it was basically like playing orcs with guard orders, right? Like they were able to give orders. Yeah. So it was one of their best attachments after Grotsmas, and what it basically does is like you need to take a leadership test. If they don't, they get mortal wounds, but then they get this buff, kind of like Dark Pacts in a way. They used to be able to do 2 orders, now they can only do 1. So, and they have to take a leadership test. So, yeah, but a lot of people are saying that this new one, more DACA, is probably going to be the go-to instead of Tactical Brigade. So, you know,
I don't really know. I guess.
But yeah.
Some of their guns have like shockingly good like damage output. It's just because it never hits. It doesn't matter. It's just
yeah, but keep going with what you think.
Changes are kind of devastating,
especially because you like Slanesh specifically.
I'm a big Slanesh fan, and the fact that they've been moved is not. I don't like that. I mean, they lost the chariot units, which is like
the most iconic thing of Slanesh too.
Yeah, it's like Slanesh's thing. The thing is, the models, like their data sheets, are bad, and they have been bad for a really long time.
Yeah.
So no one took them. So I mean, this could have just been like the long haul plan, because Games Workshop has been removing Slanesh from Warhammer stuff in general.
Yeah.
So this might have just been the way that they're planning on removing Slanesh from Demons. It could just be like Demons now no longer featuring Slanesh, but we also don't get a supplemental god like Malice.
Mm-hmm.
I really doubt they're going to bring Malice back, especially if they're making an undivided detachment that is centering Be'lakor and not Malice.
Yeah, it's kind of cool how they're kind of bringing in like the Be'lakor kind of has like the demonic incursion one. Well, I guess he kind of got replaced after they gave every greater demon shadows, but like demonic incursion was kind of his thing, and now he's like, hey, this is me leading demons, now this is me leading Space Marines in a way.
I think the thing is that when it comes to Chaos Demons, especially after the nerf, like the massive nerfs to Legion of Excess, demonic incursion is just better.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's hard. It's like it was Legion of Excess and then demonic incursion, and then probably, I mean, in my opinion, either Blood Legion or Scintillating Legion.
Mm-hmm.
But especially with the change to Scarbrand.
Yeah,
one
that's
of the most
looking
important
fat.
parts of like running Scarbrand in demonic incursion. Well, I was testing Bloodthirsters instead of Scarbrand. They're a little bit more expensive, but they do hit harder.
Yeah,
because they had more strength and AP on that sweep profile. Mm-hmm. But Scarbrand just got buffs to it.
Yeah.
So now he's literally just better than a Bloodthirster, and he's cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Which I wonder. I guess that just makes him better in demonic incursion since you can't run him in this new one, right?
No, but you can still run him in Blood Legion.
Oh yeah, true.
So that is actually a little insane. Scarbrand is kind of a powerhouse. Shalaxi is trash.
Yeah.
So I mean, I when I was making my demon lists, I've always done this. I've always wanted to have all four of the gods represented, but now there is literally no reason to include Slanesh because Shalaxi is bad and keepers are kind of just worse than everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Great Unclean don't do damage. I mean, maybe they will now with the changes to the Vile Sword. I doubt it. I doubt it. Because it's just, they're just not very good at that. I mean, that's the problem that Nurgle's going to have until they fundamentally change their philosophy when it comes to Nurgle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that a lot of like these changes are kind of like reining things in, but some of them also kind of seem a bit much, in my opinion. Like, as much as I don't like fighting against Space Marines, they kind of are just like knocking out a lot of niche things, right? Like, it just seems like a little much, but then at the same time, the thing is, like, they're bringing down like the floor, so to speak, but they aren't fixing the ceiling, which is like the Ultramarine problem, right? Because they're just kind of dominating in a way. So I'm a little worried that they're kind of just saying like, hey, all this variety and jank and stuff we're gonna get rid of, and then we're gonna continue seeing this really, really big thing that everyone is still playing. Because Bloodless Angels was strong, but it wasn't like, you know, I think Ultramarines was still better than Bloodless Angels, personally.
Yeah, what is weird to me is that they're doing all of that, but they aren't fixing the thing with demons where it's like, you have to take an army of greater demons or you just don't do
it. Yeah, that's kind of how Demonic Incursion fell at that time. Especially when they started adding like the aura to them and stuff.
Yeah, because it's like, what is the point? Why would I? Because like my problem with demons, whenever I'm making a new demons army, is that most of the data sheets are bad.
Yeah,
and they're not just like a little bit bad; they're really bad.
Yeah,
it's like the data sheets that are good are really good, like Flamers, every greater demon.
Former Shalaxi.
Former Shalaxi, who is now trash. New Scarbrand, who is god. I mean, even old Shalaxi didn't have Advance in Charge. Advance in Charge, and he got more movement. Scarbrand is actually like I stopped running him because his move was actually just too small for him to usually get into combat, and also his damage output was a little underwhelming. Bloodthirsters had slightly better weapon profiles.
Right. Yeah,
so I always took them.
I wonder if this new detachment is gonna fill some holes, maybe, in the sense that you can bring like Havocs and stuff. Not that Havocs are exactly the best unit in CSM, but like, you know, when your army doesn't have las cannons, then you can take las cannons. You know what I mean?
So hold on, before you continue with that, let me say that so if Bellacor's you have to 375, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't take any of the enhancements. Whoops, I'm not doing anything. You can't take any enhancements. So what I'm gonna do is remove the enhancements from my current demon army. So that is 375 plus 795 is 1,065, 1165, I think. So that's Bloodthirster, Great Unclean, Lord of Change, Be'lakor, with the points increase, but you still have that 1,000 for your new heretic starting. Basically, what this does is it takes the Greater Demon Circus and gives them useful infantry.
Yeah, because I mean, legionaries are fucking gross, man. They have
You can play possessed. You can give them that deep strike stuff. I think the stratagems are much worse than demonic incursion stratagems, but this gives demons what they were missing, which is useful infantry.
Especially because you can just basically deep strike battle line, like onto a point if they're not on it, and legionaries
are the best battle line in the game.
Yeah, like legionaries are. I don't know if I'd say best battle line, but they're like, in my opinion, top 3, because like they destroy anything on an objective. They have 2 OC, squad of 5, right? The heavy combat weapon, re-rolling wounds, especially if they're led by a lord, like they're just gonna get really gross, especially because like Lord reduces stratagems that are targeted by them to by 1, right? So you can cast like that lance on a unit during the fight phase with your legionary in the Lord for free. Like it's just kind of insane.
Wow. Yeah, and you know the other thing is that um, giving Great Unclean Ones a base feel no pain, while 6 is a lot worse than 4 with Endless Gift, does make them actually useful in other detachments.
Yeah, right.
Whereas before it was like, why would I take this? This literally doesn't do anything. Doesn't have any damage output. It's shockingly fragile for a
Greater Demon.
For a Nurgle unit with toughness 12 and 20 wounds. I mean,
yeah, I mean Be'lakor has the same wound count now, which is kind of crazy.
Yes, Be'lakor has the same wound and only 1 fewer toughness than a fucking Great Unclean One.
And now he has Dark Packs.
And he has 3-up armor, so he's actually more durable against
Be'lakor's looking really saucy,
attacks. Man. Against armor-piercing attacks, it's probably going to be the same, because they both have 4-up invuln.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Be'lakor is probably going to be a powerhouse.
Yeah, I think so. Which is kind of cool, because considering he's like, you know, like the demigod of demons in a way.
Yeah, he's basically like the god of Undivided at this point, because they gave him up Malice. I mean, I think that the new detachment is competitive with Demonic Incursion, especially with the nerf to Legion of Excess. Those 2 are probably the best ones.
Yeah, I'm like, so my at least for me, building my models, right? Like I've been building a lot of AdMech lately. I don't know about that anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been building a lot of Death Guard on the side. Like I have a proxy Mortarion, I have proxy Death Shrouds. I'm surprised I don't think they touched Death Shrouds. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But like the Tau detachment, I'm about to crack open my boxes, man. That detachment looks fucking sick. So I'm like excited, at least in that sense, right? Tau is looking fucking sweet. And I know, like, I was asking for Kroot, like, all the time, and then I finally gave us Kroot Hunting Pack, and I was like, oh, this is so cool, and then I just lost all interest. I just lost all interest in playing Kroot.
It's just, it was so disappointing, because I was excited, too, for that. It was so cool.
I think, actually, recently, last week, Kroot got a tournament win. Kroot Hunting Pack.
Oh,
and I was like,
wow, that
whoa!
is insane.
Yeah, you know
what
what's
the
crazy?
hell were they playing against?
The week before that, the guy Warp Friends that I use for stats, he said that he gave me the list, but that one Iron Warriors detachment, Fellhammer Seachows, the one that I spam Terminators with, that one won the tournament too, and that was considered one of their worst.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Hey, I mean, weird shit is happening, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
next year to tell me that unending swarm one is
no, all right, come on. once they gave up the model revive thing, it was over.
It's so bad. It's such a bad attachment. I mean, it's so bad. It's so bad.
But hey, Kroot won without theirs, right? So
yeah, I mean,
because their reinforcement stratagem also got nerfed at the same time the Tyranids did.
I don't know. I feel like even then they still have more damage than Unending Swarm does, because even the stratagems are just not good.
Yeah, but hey, no Tyranid changes.
So yes, upvote.
That's kind of wild to me. I mean, Tyranid has always been like a pretty solid army, like A. It's just that I play a lot of armies that are really bad into them. so you know, what an experience. Are like,
I'm dead.
Yeah, it's always an experience. But I like looking past that, like Tyranids has always had a pretty good footing, I think. Like even when Ending Swarm was like kind of their thing, they got the buff to Synapse, you know, and then Crusher Stampede became a little bit better. Like Tyranids has always kind of had a foot in the game, and I really don't think they should have been touched.
I don't think in all the time that I can remember, I don't remember Tyranids ever being bad or like crazy overpowered. It's always been like Necrons, Space Marines, Eldar, Grey Knights. Stuff like those are always the armies that are like overpowered as fuck. And then there's the armies that are like unbelievably bad.
Yeah,
I mean, Chaos Space Marines, Solaris.
Well, CSM is kind of weird, right? Because I said this in my last video. I feel like CSM kind of, or Sisters is kind of going with your CSM did. When they got their nerf to Profane Zeal, which is the stratagem that targets Undivided and let them reroll hit rolls and wound rolls. When that got nerfed to only be, I think it's hit rolls now. they went down really, really hard. And the guys over at Poor Hammer, Bricky specifically, he was saying that he thinks that people were like chaos pilled in the sense of like everyone's kind of giving up because that was their main strategy, and then
Yeah.
like 2 weeks later they went back up to a good play rate. You know what I mean? And I feel like
Yeah.
Sisters is kind of in that footing where like a lot of armies in the game that go really, really down eventually go back up. You know what I mean? Even with no
Yeah.
changes. And that's what I was
Except
saying.
Admech.
Anyway, that's what I was saying with Sisters. Like Sisters saw like a play rate of like I think 4 to 5 down to like 1.8, like around where Admech is, or sorry, half of Admech right now, and their win rate was about the same as us. So I'm just like, if they continued to play that same amount, I feel like they wouldn't be down there with us. Would they be good? Probably not, but they would
Yeah.
not be down there with us. You know what I mean? I feel like a big
Yeah.
reason why that play rate plummeted was because a lot of people gave up on the army, and then that's seen through the play rate, right? So it feels like down at the gutter there's always like a rotating door where like
Yeah.
we kind of are just like, hey, I don't know, fucking Black Templars is down here with us, and now they left. Or Deathwatch is down here with us, and now they left. And then the Sisters
Yeah.
is down here with us, and then now they left. The only thing that
yeah,
doesn't change is
Deathwatch
Admech. So
Yeah. Deathload was another one that was like, why did you add this? Only looted in trash land. In trash land.
well, they like took it away with the Imperial Agents Codex. Everyone bitched about it, and then
Right.
they eventually got their own detachment, and then they were winning like a bunch of tournaments. And it's just
Yeah.
like, wow, wait, so these guys get to bitch for one data slate, but we get to bitch for two, and we don't get anything.
What are the other armies that have been like historically really bad that I remember?
Historically, like
Demons
past
was
other
actually
editions.
really, really bad once because they were like absurdly overpowered.
Are you talking about like
Yeah.
older editions?
Yeah, older editions.
Well, when I started playing, Tau and Gene Stealers were dog shit back in 8th,
Yes,
and I
Tau
played a
was
lot,
bad for a long time.
and I played a lot of Tau back in 8th.
I mean, Votan, I don't care about. They should be. They should be.
I think
Uh,
a lot of the armies that I
Drukhari
tend to
were
play.
really good.
Oh no, they were
kinda
busted.
Became like bad, and then they were broken as fuck.
They were really bad in the beginning of this edition, and then they got really
Yeah.
good after a little bit. But right now, I'd say they're kind of like on the lower T, like probably C around there, maybe a low C.
Astro
Um,
Militarum is one of those that's always like fluctuating. I think too.
Yeah, they definitely are. I think this edition they've gone up a lot. They've kind of started kind of down there, and then they kind of got into the middle ground, and then tactical or Brigade Spearhead came out, and they were like, boom, instantly blew up, and that's why they're getting reined
Yeah.
in this data slate.
And I remember the old days when Chaos Space Marines were so bad that the second that they got a good unit, it was nerfed into the ground.
Yeah, CSM has kind of been fluctuating this edition. Index they were destroying, and then they got the changes to Profane Zeal and the Rhinos,
Yeah.
and then they kind of went down because of that, and then they kind of went up again, and then now they're going back down. It's just, they were the best, and then now they're just kind of within like
Yeah.
fluctuating. They were up there when Eldar was like ridiculously busted with I think it was Warp Spiders and Indirect, and then they got reined in a little bit, and then other Codex
Yeah.
came out, and they're busted again.
I like to pretend that Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights don't exist. I don't like those armies. I don't like-
Chaos Knights has gotten some good changes recently, so
yeah, but I hope that they do.
I like Chaos Knights personally.
I don't like Chaos
Imp
Knights. I
Knights,
don't like
whack.
Knights in general.
I just like Chaos Knights because of the Carnivore. It's like a giant metal robot with like a skull head, and I'm just like, that's
Yeah.
sick. Like a wolf skull head. So it looks like it looks like what's the name of it? Like a Wendigoon. Or like a Wendigoon. He's a YouTuber. Wendigo, whatever the fuck it's called. It looks like that, but like armored, and it just looks really, really cool.
See,
Or like a
the
Leshen.
problem I have with Knights is that it's stupid.
They're just stat checky. They're like mega stat checky. That's
Yeah,
the issue.
it's like, oh great, my opponent brought Knights. And
Yeah.
I don't have a list that literally only has last cannons in
like
it.
I haven't played much against Knights, but I can imagine they're like an easier Custodes to face. Because like the problem with Custodes is that their infantry hits as hard as Knights.
Yeah,
But,
I
you know.
hate playing this system. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I've never met anyone who likes playing against Custodians. So
True. Yeah, and that used to be one of Admech's hardest matchups was Custodes. I don't.
I can imagine you already can't kill anything. You
Well, we were able to like outswarm them because we were basically a horde army at this point.
yeah,
But they were able to still clean us up pretty hard because it's like, yeah, -1 to hit and protector is really, really cool, but that's if your battle line is alive and they're gonna chop through it eventually. Like, they don't give a fuck if they're hitting on threes, you know what I mean?
Every time you say Admech is a horde army, and then I remember like our games of like tier 2 Admech, and I'm like, My horde is just better than yours.
Yeah, it just is. Which is crazy because I've never played the horde list against you. I've
Yeah,
only played like I purposefully go out of my way to bring units that are more expensive so that I can try to go back to like a 9th, 8th edition playstyle,
yeah.
and I just flound every
It
single
just
time.
does not work.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's fine. Like in our other games, like when I play demons or a different army, it's a lot better. But Tyrannus just seems like this literally unbeatable matchup for like this way that you're playing Admech.
Yeah, it's just crazy, man. It's wild, but yeah, that's
Points
just
changes?
the state of things. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, what are the points changes?
So we'll start with Sororitas. Now,
Okay.
not only did they get buffs to their new army, not new, but they got like reverted army rule, right, with the miracle dice. But they got like points drops across the board. So Arcoflagellants are now 10 points cheaper for models of 10, so they're 140 points. My understanding is Arcoflagellants are kind of chaffy, so maybe people start taking them, and once they die, they get free miracle dice off of them. Soccer Sans. Oh, go ahead.
Hilariously, still more expensive than Hormigons.
Celestian Soccer Sans are 70 points now. They went down by 5. And then for a brick of 10, it's minus 20. So that's a huge bump for 10 stacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's normally 5 for 70, but now it's 130 for 10, which is pretty fat.
Yeah.
The Minion Squad is down 10 points. They're now 115. Repentia are 5 points cheaper for 5 at 85, and then they're 170 for 10, minus 10 points total. Seraphims went down 5 points to 85, and their 10 bricks went down to 170, so 20 there, kind of just as fat as the Celestines. Yeah, pretty big. And then the Seraphim, they went down 5 points for 5, going to 80, and then 10 points for 10, going to 160, so it's even there. I know that Sisters kind of had the critique where they were a little bit too hoardy back before they got their codex, and it seems like they're kind of going back down in points. But now with the units being destroyed, giving them miracle dice, I think maybe they have an incentive to take a little bit more trash. Yeah. Because like it doesn't matter what dies, you still get a miracle dice off of it. So
that's insane. But like, I hate miracle dice so much. I hope they remove it from the game.
I remember 9th edition. I remember 9th.
Shit sucks.
But they took out a lot of the things that kind of made Miracle Dice busted, like Triumph of St. Catherine just automatically giving you a 6. So, you know, at least that didn't change.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Sororitas is coming back. I don't like that.
I don't know if they're going to come back to, like, their former glory. But that they shouldn't want to, like, any honest player shouldn't want that to happen again, even a Sisters player, just as much as I don't want Admech to be top 3 armies. I just want them to be good, you know what I mean? And yeah, and I think this is reining in Sisters to be like, they're just kind of like drip feeding them back into the game to make sure that they don't do it. They obviously overcorrected, right? They shouldn't have done that. But at least this is a step in the right direction without them waiting 6 months like we did. So you know, moving on to Custodes. Again, I am very unfamiliar with Custodes. The only time is that we used to have a friend that played Custodes against us. But even then, I didn't... The only thing that I know about it is the fucking Gladius Grav Tank. Or Gladius Grav Tank. That is the only thing I was genuinely scared of all the time.
Did he get nerfed?
No, but... Alea went down 10 points. It's now 65. I don't know what they do. Blade Champions went up 10 points. I know they were pretty good. They're 120 now for one model. Custodian Guards are down 10 to 170 for 4, and 10 for 5 to 215, which is basically minus 10 per model. Then Custodian Wardens went up 10 for 4 at 210, and then they went up an additional 10 for 5 to 260. Knight Centura went down 15 points to 55. Shield Captains went down 10 points to 130. Shield Captains in Aloris Terminator armor went down 10 to 130. Shield Captain and Dawn Eagle Jetbike went down 10 to 150. The Venerable Contemptor Dreadnought went up 10 points to 170. The Telemon Dreadnought went up 10 points to 225. And in the Solar Spearhead, the Enchantment Augury Uplink went up 10 points to 35. Obviously, they're nerfing Dreadnoughts. I think that's because of the Solar Spearhead.
Yeah.
That detachment that basically wants you to take a bunch of dreadnoughts and vehicles, and dreadnoughts
Yep.
were like the biggest thing. If I remember correctly, the Telemon had a 2-up revive, so and that
Yeah, I feel like.
yeah, and that detachment basically gave you buffs if you were below starting strength and half strength, and that would basically put him right where he needed to be. Um, so it seems like they're kind of nerfing a little bit of the, not only one, which is the Blade Champion character, but they're buffing a lot of the infantry. And
Yeah.
with the new Custodes detachment, it's mostly infantry, it's mostly characters, and the only
Right.
character that caught a nerf here was a Blade Champion, but like shield captains went down by 10 points, and they're like specifically called out in that Lions of the Emperor detachment. So
Yeah, that's. I mean, anything that helps Custodes, I dislike. Anything that nerfs them, I like. So.
it's a lot of 10 here and 10 there, and while that doesn't seem
Yeah.
like much, it's 10 here in specifically to dreadnoughts and vehicles, and minus 10
Right.
there specifically to infantry. So it's kind of like cumulative, right? Because say you take
Right.
like 2 shield captains, custodian guard, and I don't know, a knight centura. I don't know how they build this, but what I'm saying is like that's minus 50 points right there, right? Like it stacks quite a bit if you're building infantry lists. So we'll see where it goes. I mean, any Custodes, like even 10 drop for an army that is so expensive is a dub, right?
Yeah. I mean,
So we'll see.
I hope they die.
All right, on to me.
Oh boy. Okay.
The Mechanicus got 2 changes.
Okay.
2 points drops. Belisarius' call went down 15 points. He's now 135. And
Jesus.
the Tech Priest Dominus went down 5 points to 65. That's the only changes we've received.
You know what's really funny? Belisarius' call is still more expensive than 20 Hormagaunts.
It's fucking crazy, man. The thing is, like, the aim with the Dataslate last year, right, where we got a bunch of army fixes, was to raise the points cost, right? Because they gave us a huge buff, right? I will not deny that. But they raised a bunch of points too, right? And that was good because that's what we want. The army's already ridiculously expensive to collect.
Yeah.
After that data slate, we have only had price decreases or points decreases. So it's just like, I think that really highlights that wasn't enough, right? Because the idea was to buff the army and then buff the points so that you can field more without spending so much money, and the things that you were fielding were actually worth it. But only after that moment, things started to drop back down again. So it's obviously saying that, like, hey, even though you got this massive buff, your units are not worth at the price that they're at. They still have to go down. So that only shows that buff wasn't enough. We need more, right? Which is why, like, no matter how much they drop the detachment price or the points, it's not going to fix the underlying issue. Like, somebody pointed out, like, eventually something gets so cheap that it's just good, right? But that's not good for the army. That's not good for any army. So, like, Call is dropped points like 3 times this edition, and even at 135, like, people still don't know if you should take him. Like, he's what is he, 135? Yeah, he's almost as much as 2 Dominus. He's like 5 points less than 2 Dominus. What's up?
Old One Eye is 150 points.
And he gives full hit rerolls. Like, it's just
full hit rerolls.
like, what the fuck, man? Like, the crazy part is that, like, again, Call, he's 135, right? The Tech Piece Manipulus is 60. He's our best leader, in my opinion, because he has the most things in his data sheet. So 2 of them are 120 points. That's 15 points shy of Call. Call is like an epic hero. Like, he should not be that low. You know what I mean?
Right.
The thing is, like, and his abilities are just, like, not great. Like, reroll hit aura to 1. Like, we used to have full reroll hits with him. Like, Abaddon has that. And Abaddon is, like, kind of expensive. But the thing is, like, even in Chaos lists, people are like, well, we don't know if you should take Abaddon. He's a bit pricey. But the idea is, like, if you take Abaddon, you build around Abaddon, right?
Right.
Call is just kind of at this point where, like, he used to be Abaddon. Like, that's how Call's Moving Castle played in 18 or in 8th edition. But he's at this point where he's just kind of like, Abaddon, you can justify him, right? You can't justify Call. And then he kept dropping, and he keeps dropping, and now it's like, again, the question comes up: is Call worth bringing? And people still don't know. But with Abaddon, you can make that argument. You're just like, yeah, maybe, right? Same with the Lion.
Yeah.
The Lion got his buffs, and now you're just like, oh, yeah, maybe you take him. But Call at this point, or at least before this point, he's kind of been like, yeah, no, don't take him. The thing you take Call for is the fact that he has an aura that gives him the battle line keyword so that your army rule works. Like, that's not a great place for an epic hero for your army to be at. Like, especially Belisarius Call. This
Right.
You would think that the guy who made fucking Primaris Marines would get more attention
Right.
from GW.
Yeah.
But I don't
It's
know.
an admin model, not a space marine model.
Yeah, well, there you go. I am starting. I really don't like to take the black pill, and I know that I kind of like bitch a lot about AdMech, but like I had somebody on made a post saying that, like, you know, there's no reason to cry for the army. Like, the army's kind of fine, it's fun, and that's like very subjective. But the longer we go on in this edition, the more I'm convinced that, like, they kind of just don't really care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just really hard. Like, it's been a year now. It's been a year since our Codex came out. Not only did we wait from Index to Codex, where we were kind of meh, but then we got Codex to we were like a 29% win rate, and then now we're at a point where it's just like, yeah, we're better, but it's obviously still not enough, and you're not giving us enough. You know, and I think that that's what really is made evident by things like Sisters immediately getting changes, and we don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
The last change we got was almost a year ago. At least, like, the last big change, right? So, I don't know. I think that this is just going to be a scuffed edition for AdMech. I'm not really holding out hope at this point. I'm just kind of saying, like, hey, listen, I'm never going to give up this army. I fucking love it to death. But that doesn't mean that I can't shelve it for an edition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see next Dataslate. I know that they've been saying that they're going to add more detachments to armies that even have codexes already, kind of like they did with Tau, or with Orcs. But
yeah, because Orcs is like
the thing is, like, there's nothing that they can add short of, again, another rewrite that is going to make the army play to what people generally love the army for, right? The only thing we can hope for at this point is that we get a detachment that kind of brings us more in line, and that's a big if. So, because so far, yeah, they introduced Halo's Creed, which is probably one of the best and most fun ways to play the army. But in the Codex, we got like 4 stinkers out of 5, and that 5th one is like good, but it's not fun in my opinion. You know what I mean? So we'll leave it at that. Titanicus doesn't exist. We're gonna skip that. Eldar got nerfed.
Okay.
So their Dark Reapers got nerfed. Only the 10 bricks, not the 5 bricks. And they went up 15 points to 195. Dire Avengers went up. 5 models are now plus 5 points for 80, and then 10 models are now plus 10 points to 160. Fire Dragons got 10 points for 5 models up to 110, and they're nerfed by 20 points for 10 models up to 220. Striking Scorpions went up 10 to 85 for the 5-man break, but no changes to the 10-man break. And Wave Serpents went up 10 points. Eldar is kind of destroying the game right now. Yes, they're catching nerfs. I think this is probably what they should have done with Sisters, where they're just like, listen, we're not going to just bombard your army rule with nerfs, but we are going to nerf your points. I don't know if this is enough, though. You know what I mean? Probably not. I think they were very selective in what they nerfed, which is good.
Yeah.
But like 10 points here, 15 points there, I don't know if that's enough for Eldar to care.
Yeah, especially when they came over to their brothers in Dream Army and just across the board hammered them.
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where Eldar stays, but I think that
maybe what they're hoping is that they'll nerf Eldar and buff some other armies, and someone, like, it'll even out.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that was like kind of in their same line of I don't know, success was Guard with the tactical or Bridgehead, whatever the hell it's called, which just got like, yeah, they got nerfed hard.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they're like completely out of the game, but I do think that like they caught way more nerfs than Eldar did, and it should have been either both of them get the same amount as Eldar or both of them get the same amount as Guard. But now there's kind of like a big disparagement, you know what I mean? So we'll see. Let's see. Astra Militarum, speaking of which.
Yep.
Cadian Heavy Weapon Squad got 15 points up, so 3 models now go for 65 points. Catachans got nerfed. They're 15 points more expensive for 3, up to 65. Tempestus Command Squad got nerfed. They're 10 points more for 85 for 5. And then the Scions themselves got nerfed. 5 models are now 5 points more for 70. 10 models are 10 points more for 140. And the Field Ordnance Battery got a 10-point nerf and now costing 110. And then the Bridgehead Strike Detachment, specifically one of their enhancements, Bombast Class of Vox Array, went up 10 points to 35 points for an enhancement, which is pretty fat.
Wow.
Very selective nerfs here. Obviously, Tempestus Scions are taking the biggest hit, and that's because Bridgehead used Tempestus Scions. So, it seems like Guard, every single meta, tends to abuse something. You know what I mean? They just find like a new toy. So like it used to be Lord Solar, and then they nerfed him, and then it was like Bulgrin abusing, and then they nerfed them, and then it was Kazarkin, and they nerfed them. Then it was like Aquilons, then they nerfed them, and now it's Scions, right? Like they just keep catching nerfs. But I think it's really cool how like as a whole, the Guard has been able to consistently stay on top by switching their playstyle, which I think is pretty sweet. Now I'm sure it doesn't.
That's like the whole point of Guard, though.
Yeah, and I think that's like kind of shows healthy internal balance. Maybe I'm speaking out of my ass here. Maybe another Guard player can tell me something. But my point being that like I'm sure it doesn't feel nice to catch nerfs every single data slate, but it is kind of cool how you guys are able to consistently come back and at least be like 50% or higher. You know what I mean? Not like all the time, but consistently. Black Templars, no changes. Blood Angels. They got buffed. I think this is basically to fix the Bloodless Angel problem.
Okay.
Because now they can't abuse +1 to wound.
Right.
So, Death Company Captain with Jump Pack, -10. Now they're 75. Death Company Marines, -5 for 5 for 85. -20 for 10 for 160. Same with Death Company Marines with Bolt Rifles, -5 to 85 for 5. -20 for 160 for 10. So, basically buffing Death Company. And Liberator Assault Group got a +10 nerf to Rage Fueled Warrior enhancement, which is now 35, another really fat one. I don't know enough about Blood Angels, but I do know that they were abusing the rule, and it seems like they're just kind of compensating for that.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
I mean, you know me, I downvote anything that helps.
Oh my gosh. Alright. Demons.
Okay.
Be'lakor, +50. He's
Right.
now 375.
Okay.
Contorted Epitome is now 20 points up, so now they're 100 for 1.
Okay.
Fiends, 3 models are up 5 points to 110. They're up 10 points to 220 for 6.
Okay, I guess.
This is a crazy one. I think you're gonna like this one.
Okay.
Flamers are 10 points cheaper, 65 for 3. 20 points cheaper for 6 at 130. I know you love your Flamers. So
why did they do that? That's crazy. Why? That's Hormigaunt price. That's
yeah, they're Flamers.
What the fuck?
It doesn't change how they're still pretty good in Scintillating Legion with their plus strength or whatever.
Upvote, big upvote. Big upvote.
Fleshhounds got nerfed 5 for 5 to
Why?
75 points, and then +10 for 10 at 150 points. I think they maybe got nerfed because I do think that their new ability to go back to reserves is a lot better.
It's a lot better,
yeah.
I guess, but still, like, are they worth it?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Great Unclean One went up 20 points to 250. I think that's. Yeah, I think it's pretty fair though because he got a Feel No Pain and he only got improvements for the most part except for his aura. But like,
this is true.
As we mentioned, you really weren't taking a lot of Nurgle demons up front with him, so
because they suck.
Right. So like, him having a Feel No Pain and losing that aura is like not great, but it's still better than nothing, and that probably is why he went up. Nurglings, 3 models are -5 points for 35. 6 models are minus 10 points for 60, and 9 are minus 15 for
I mean,
90. So 5 across the board.
okay, but they don't
Yeah,
do
yeah.
anything. So who
um,
cares?
Rodigus also went up 20 points, so now he's 250. Screamers got cheaper, so 3 models are now 5 points cheaper for 80, and 6 models are now 10 points cheaper with 160. I don't know if it's starting to become worth taking them, considering that they got their buff last Dataslate,
No,
to where they hit on
worthless.
3s. Oh, okay, if you say so. I don't know.
I mean, I've never tried to use them. It's just like their data sheet is so bad. I mean,
Yeah, I mean they buffed their data sheet last Dataslate, so maybe, I don't
the
know.
thing is, like, the problem with screamers is the 3 attacks.
That's fair.
They
Yeah, that's
only
fair.
have 3 attacks each, and yes, they have anti-monster and anti-vehicle 4 up,
hmm
but it's also 3 attacks at D2. So,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
also,
We'll
their
see.
toughness 4 with 3 wounds. Like, they have that 4 up invuln, but that's not saving anyone. This is
Yeah, I think that they're like kind of just marine killers, and they can also hit up. Yeah, they can also hit up with anti-monster and anti-vehicle 4+, but like, I feel like with the minus 2 AP and 2 damage, especially with that little attacks, maybe they're not putting as much of a dent as you would like.
Exactly. That's the problem.
Right.
You're paying 80 points for 9 attacks.
Yeah, it's not great.
It sucks. It sucks.
Shalaxi is 45 points cheaper now, so now
Actually,
380.
bad, though, so.
Yeah, it's crazy considering that they like every single data slate when they were good, they were like dropping the points all the time, and now this is like the biggest one, but they're just like, yeah, but now it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Shalaxi's gone.
Yeah, every data slate before that was just like, Jesus, again? You know what I mean?
She is so bad. It's like.
And then the Mask of Slanesh is now 10 points more expensive, 95 points for 1 model.
Why? Who's taking these models? I don't
know.
know. Changes.
This one I didn't know.
Okay.
Christ almighty, Endless Gifts went up 15 points, is now 45.
Wow.
That is crazy.
Holy shit. Okay.
And it's especially crazy because the Great Unclean one went up 20 points, the Enchantment went up 15. So now for that combo,
wow.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. Granted, it was
300 points.
It was kind of ridiculous, but wow.
Okay, yes, but it's it's compensated for by the fact that Great Unclean ones don't do anything, like damage wise. Now it's like
they do more damage now, sort of. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. They do have higher strength. They do have +1 damage. They're getting better, but obviously,
I don't know. I don't think I would take it.
We'll see. Next is Chaos Knights. So these are all big knights, which is good, but it's not the best. So in case you're not caught up with the Chaos Knight meta, it's basically a lot of War Dog spam, right? Which is like the smaller armatures. Nobody's taking big knights because they just kind of don't do much, and they're way too expensive for what they are. So they're trying to fix that here, obviously. Knight Desecrator is 10 points cheaper for 400 points. Knight Despoiler is 15 points cheaper for 400 points. And the Knight Tyrant is 30 points cheaper for 480 points. Now, Knight Tyrant 30 point is pretty big. I don't know if 10 and 15 is big enough for a big knight. You know what I mean? Like, considering that it takes up so much of your points, 10 is nothing when it costs 400. So,
I mean, you know me and how I feel about knights. But if there is a knights that is better than the other one, it is Chaos.
Yeah, I have been eyeing Chaos Knights in the past. Yeah. I don't know if I'll ever pull the trigger because I have so many armies in the backlog. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think that I could have had like 3 Chaos Knight armies at this time before I've built a full AdMech one, considering how cheap we fucking are. And it would probably be cheaper at this point too.
Yeah.
But I think that they're trying to push big knights because that has been a general complaint of the army for a while now. Because like War Dog spam is more of like a thing you do out of necessity more than want. I think people play knights to bring big knights, and you kind of just don't. So it would be nice where they strike a balance, and I think this is trying to get closer to that. I don't know if 10 points in the Desecrator and 15 on the Despoiler is enough, but 30 on the Tyrant, maybe we're starting to look at something, right? So, I don't know, Knights players, tune in, but they've only been getting buffs. They've only been getting a lot of buffs, actually, so we'll see. Codex Space Marines. Sorry, Chaos. Chaos Space Marines. I haven't seen these again, so we'll see. Chaos, Predator, Annihilator. I'm going to try to remember which one the Annihilator is, because I always get confused which one kills infantry and which one kills tanks. But Annihilator went up 5 points, which is like probably nothing. 135 points for one model. Okay, so the Annihilator was the one that kills monsters and vehicles. So okay. I haven't seen many people taking this, because most people, when they want anti-tank, just take like Forge Fiends. Yeah. So I don't know. But they did get if I remember correctly, they got a buff where they were able to reroll damage rolls. So maybe that's why. Because, you know, D6 plus 1 last cannon, now that you can reroll a damage roll when it's targeting a monster or vehicle, is pretty fat. Which is more consistent, so maybe that's why I caught a 5 point. 5 points is nothing. I'm not really too worried about that.
Yeah, in an army like Knights, I feel like 5 points is like, okay, I don't care.
Well, Chaos Space Marines, not Knights.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Forge Fiend went down 10 points, 180. I love Forge Fiends. Upvote. Yeah, big upvote. This one is kind of weird. Lord Discordant on Hellstalker, he went down by 15 points. Now, he's like the Dark Admech guy. He used to be really, really strong in old editions. This edition, he's kind of shit, and I don't think 15 points is going to fix him. He's just like... What's that?
It's not going to save him.
I don't think so. He's just so underwhelming for what he does. If he did more in, like, the Soulforge pack detachment, then maybe he would be cool, but, like, he just kind of does nothing. So, yeah, very, very minor changes to Chaos Space Marines. Minus 10 on Forge Fiend, making it cheaper, is big up, in my opinion. Yeah. Because if you take 2, it's minus 20 points, and that's, like, right. I don't know, probably frees up something here or there.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay. I don't like that much.
You don't?
Oh, it's kind of cool.
It's cool as fuck! He's on, like, a giant mech scorpion spider.
I like the demon stuff more. This is, like...
Yeah, whatever. It's like a... What's it called? What's the... Demon Engine. It's a Demon Engine.
Look at the Master of Possession. I say that again.
Nah, Master Possession is whack. I do like how the Master Possession looks, but he looks a little goofy. Anyway, shut up. Dark Angels got no changes. Death Guard did. Their Predator Annihilator also went up 5 points, but they also got the same buff to reroll damage rolls. Not bad. The Destructor went up 10 points, which is a little weird. But it doesn't matter. The fact is, Deathshroud Terminators are still cheap as fuck. Like, so I'm happy there. I need to build my army up before they get nerfed, because, yeah, 3 Terminators for 110 points is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Big one here for me is Mephitic Blight Haulers went down, not by much, but 1 went down by 5 to 85, 2 went down to 10 to 170, and 3 went down 15 to 225.
Are those the little guys?
Yeah, the little guys.
I love those so much.
So you normally don't take them in 3s, you take them in 1s.
Yeah.
But, you know, 5 points, fuck it. You take them in 1s, but you take like 3 of them, right? They are one of the better units. Yeah, and they are one of the better units in the army, surprisingly. Yeah. So if you take 1, but you take like 3 one-mans, then 15 points saved there. Yeah. You know? If you decide to take them in big bricks, then you're saving like 45 points, but you usually don't do that. Yeah, so I love my little boys. They're so cool. They're adorable.
Their little mouths are so awesome.
little bile spurt, dude.
Like, yeah.
Deathwatch Terminators. 5 models went up 10 points to 190. 10 went down 10 to 350. So it's kind of weird. It's more expensive to take 5 mans, but less to take 10 mans.
Okay.
Cool. I guess I don't really care for Deathwatch.
That seems bad, in my opinion, but okay.
Index Drukari. Kabalite Warriors went down 10 points to 100. Witches went down 10 points to 80. That's it.
Thanks,
yeah. Okay, surprisingly, Emperor's Children already caught changes. Kind of wild.
Literally.
Yeah. So there's a little note here that says the points below allow players to play Codex Emperor's Children in non-tournament settings. Until the full release of this codex, players should continue using the Index Emperor's Children points and rules for other similar events. So this is really just touching on like general play.
Yeah.
Chaos Rhino went up 5 points to 80. Chaos Spawn went up 10 points to 80 for 2. Probably warranted because this, I believe, this is the only Chaos Spawn that actually has OC, which is kind of good.
Yeah.
Chaos Terminators went down 5 to 170. The Terminators didn't look very good. Slanesh Demon Prince with Wing went down 15 to 180. Pretty big, considering that the Demon Princes are probably the best in the Emperor's Children Codex.
Right, yeah.
Flawless Blades went down 20 for 110 for 3. And 6 of them went down 40 points for 220. Yeah. Flawless Blades, I think, are one of the best models in the army. So, big, in my opinion. Yeah. And Fractors, this one's also kind of wild. Their battle line went down to 85 points, minus 10 for 5, and minus 30 for 10 man for 160 points. I don't think you take 10 mans, much like Legionary. These are kind of just better Legionaries, in my opinion, which is wild to think about. But yeah, they're cheaper than Legionaries, and they have Infiltrator, and I think it was the Infractors have Infiltrator and Stealth, and they still have the rerolls in objectives. So, Lord Exultant minus 5 for 80. Lord Cacophonist minus 10 for 60. I think that one's big because Cacophonist gives sustained hits, I believe, to the model he's leading, and he can lead Noise Marines, and Noise Marines look really good. Mauler Fiend went down 10 points for 130. Noise Marines unchanged. Sorcerer went minus 10 for 60. You don't take Sorcerer, he doesn't look very good. Tormentors, the other battle line variants, minus 10 for 85 for 5 models, minus 20 for 10 models at 170. Again, pretty good. This is where it kind of hurts. Minus 30 points for a 10-man break of Demonettes. They are now 90. Fiends are 3 models for minus 35, 95 points total. 6 models are minus 70 points for 190 total. Keeper of Secrets, minus 20 for 280. And Shalaxi, minus 10 for 380. As for the detachment enhancements, Carnival of Excess and Ferric Suffusion is plus 10. Dark Blessings, sorry, not plus 10, plus 5 for 15. Dark Blessing is minus 5 for 10. Cordae of the Conceited, Pledge of Eternal Servitude is plus 10 for 25. Pledge of Dark Glory is minus 5 for 25. Pledge of Unholy Fortune is minus 5 for 20. Mercurial Host Intoxicating Musk, minus 5 for 20. Peerless Bladesman, Blinding Speed, minus 10 for 25. Faultless Opportunist, plus 5 for 15. Rapid Evisceration Detachment, Heretic Adept, plus 5 for 35. And Slaanesh Chosen, Eager to Prove, plus 5 for 15. So it just kind of seems like they're shifting the points around.
Right.
Like one loses a little bit, one gains a little bit. I think the biggest thing to note here is Legion of Excess. Demonettes going down 30, Fiends going down 35, 70, 20 for Keeper. Like, Slaanesh Demons are definitely seeing massive points cost, or not points cuts for what they got. It seems like GW knows that they nerfed the shit out of Slaanesh.
Yeah.
So, and they're pricing them that way. This is what I like to call the AdMech effect, where your units lose a lot of good rules and therefore they become dirt cheap.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's fine. I don't know. They feel kind of dead to me.
Yeah. Welcome to how we feel.
This really sucks.
Gene Stealers. Only change here is the Neophyte Hybrids. Not the 10-man, but the 20-man bricks went up 15 points for 145. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Like, Gene Stealers is a good army. They've been performing really well. Final Day, the detachment that brings the Tyranids, surprisingly is doing really good. I know a lot of people were kind of down on it, but it is like one of their better detachments, so that's kind of impressive. Yeah, Gene Stealers has been seeing a lot of changes.
Yeah, they've been getting because after they were like insane.
I remember playing a little bit of Gene Stealers back in 8th, and the Neophytes are the guys with the hand flamers, and I remember them like they like one shot a Triumph of St. Catherine last time I played. So you know, maybe the 20 brick is like 20 brick of flamers that are just shooting 20 flamers at you. You know what I mean? So Grey Knights, the only change I see here is in Scepter squads went down -5 for 5-mans down to a total of 125, and then the 10 models are 10 points down to 250. So just a small adjustment, nothing too big. It seems like they already got their change with the detachment rule, giving them the indirect thing, but that's kind of warranted. That's a bit too cheese. Imperial Agents, Custodes Assassin went down 15 points to 85. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Imperial Agents has surprisingly been seeing still a very low play rate, but a very high win rate as of late. It seems like, I know a lot of people were down on the army, and rightfully so, but it seems like people are starting to figure something out. So, you know, I mean, they didn't catch a nerf, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they didn't catch a nerf, and they're still like leading, so not bad.
They didn't lose the game.
Imperial Knights, Knight Castellan went down 30 points to 480, and the Knight Valiant went down 30 points to 480. Kind of telling that a lot of these knights are more expensive than the big knights of Chaos Knights, but it's the opposite effect for Imperial Knights, where Imp Knights is mostly big knights and a couple of smaller ones, and Chaos is the opposite, where you're running a lot of like War Dogs. But it must be a big difference between the data sheets when their big knights are being taken and they're more expensive, whereas Chaos Knights are even cheaper and they're still not taken. But that's also because like Brigands and Carnivores are just kind of fucking ridiculous for what they do. So I think it's a matter of like, not only are the big knights and Chaos Knights not good, but like the small knights are fucking ridiculous. So that's what kind of warrants that change. No changes to League of Votann, which is nice because they just kind of got internal balance. I think a lot of people say this about Votann. They're a very honest army. They play Warhammer in a very non-cheese way, a very honest way, and you know, I don't really think they continue to be like what I think is not exactly the golden standard, but like a good standard. You know what I mean?
Right.
Necron's only got one nerf to the Doomsday arc. That thing is now 10 points more expensive for 200. Rightfully fucking so, because that thing is fucking crazy, and especially in the Star Shatter arsenal. So it's not mega nerfed. It's just 10 points. I think you still take them, but you know, they're just trying to rein that in a little bit. Orcs, big mech with shock attack gun, plus 10 points for 75, and then tank busters. The 6 model brick went up 15 points for 135. I think it was pretty obvious from the data slate that they were kind of abusing bomb squigs with the tank busters. So I think they not only caught the nerf to the change of the rule, but also the points to the brick. So, and then they have one more tactical brigade mech captain went up 10 points to 45. That is a fat enhancement. Jesus, 45 points. Wow.
That's fun.
That enchantment is worth more than 11 Gretchen, but yeah, it's also Gretchen. So. All right, Space Marines. Ballistus Dreadnought, 10 points up to 140 points nerf. Blade Guard Veterans, 3 went 10 points down to 80. 6 went 20 points down to 160. Centurion Devastator Squad, 3 models is minus 20 for 165. And 6 models is minus 40 for 330. Company Heroes, the 4 model brick is 10 points more expensive for 105. And Marnius Calgar is 10 points expensive. Now he's 210. Predator Annihilator went up 5, 135 points. Predator Destructor went up 10 to 140. Vindicator went up 10 to 185. Whirlwind went up 10 to 190. And the Gladius Task Force Fire Discipline went down to 25, minus 15 there. And then the Liberia's Conclave Fusillade went up 20 points to 35. So, big takeaway here. I know a lot of people were spamming Vindicators, so those went up a little bit. And then Centurion Devastator Squad went down quite a bit. 20 is pretty fat for the 3, and then 6 is down 40. And that's because they were abusing that whole Deep Strike rule with Oriel Ventress. But now, obviously, they can't. So I think that they're kind of compensating them there. Space Marines will probably continue to be fucking insane. So, yeah. How much is Gilliman? Because I know he's ridiculously cheap. Is it R? Rabute Gilliman, where is he? Yeah, he had 345 points. Imagine if Call was that much, but he actually did something. Alright, Space Wolves, no changes. Tau Empire, Crew Rampagers went down, 110 for 85, and the 6-man break is down 20 points to 170. The Crew Lone Spear went down 10 points to 80, and that's it. So, Crew buffs.
Okay, yeah.
Rampagers are the melee ones. Those things kind of hurt.
Yeah, that's fun.
So,
I like that.
Yeah, Lone Spear is cool because he's riding that giant salamander axolotl thing.
Right.
Just a very cool model.
Yeah, I
I'm
love
being
that
completely
model.
honest.
It's so cool.
I saw that and I was like, yeah, I need a Blaze
Yes!
Tau.
Yeah.
But then I saw the man, Tau will always bring me in because of the battle suits. So
Right.
okay, Thousand Suns. A lot of changes here. Mutilix Vortex Beast up 5 points, 165. Scarabacle Terminators. The 5 break went down 10 points to 180. The 10-man break went down 20 points to 360. Thousand Sun Cultists, 10-man is staying at 55, but the 20-man is 10 points cheaper for 100. Kind of following suit with all the other ones. Thousand Suns Predator Annihilator went up 5 points to 135. The Predator Destructor went up 10 points to 140. Thousand Suns Sorcerer and Terminator Armor went down 10 points to 105. The Vindicator went up 10 points to 185. Zangor Enlightened stayed the same at 50, but the 6-man break is minus 10 for 80. And then normal Zangors stayed the same for 10, but the 20-man break went down 10 points to 120. Does this fix Thousand Suns? No.
I don't think
Yeah.
it really would.
Yeah. I mean, Scarabacle Terminators are cheaper if you really want to take them, I guess. I think they give you a Cabal point, so that's kind of nice. Mutilix Vortex Beast catching a 5+ buff or nerf. Not the biggest deal considering that it's a one-man unit. We'll see. I don't think anything's really gonna happen with them. Okay, Tyranids.
Yay! Uh-oh.
Okay. Oh man, I'm just looking at it now. I fucking hate it.
Okay, let me open up my list. Let's go. Let's do it. All right, let's go.
One Exocrine is now 5 points more expensive. They're 140 now.
No!
5 points for that fucking thing. That thing shoots better than our fucking AdMech tanks, and it's the same price as a Doomcrawler.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Awesome.
Okay. Hive Tyrant, minus 10, 225 points now.
Yay!
Nero Lictor, minus 10, is 80 points now.
Oh, good. Thank God. Jesus Christ.
The Trigon is 10 points cheaper, 140 points now.
That probably didn't need buff.
And the Tyrannofex, 10 points more expensive to 200. That's it.
Okay.
You are getting away with quite a bit here.
This is kind of insane. Tyrannofex's getting nerfed is annoying. But honestly, every single time I use them, they don't do anything. They just...
Yeah.
So
it's notable that a lot of like the single entity models are the ones that are being affected here.
Right.
And not by much. The highest points nerf that you get is 10, and the highest that you get is 10.
Right.
So, yeah, like Tyrannofex is like Exocrine going up 5 is like, okay, you do take Exocrine, but like 5 up doesn't matter when you're saving a lot with like the Neurolictor and the Hive Tyrant.
I think those Neurolictor buffs are gonna make me want to run them again. At 90 points, I think they were a little too expensive because they tend to die really quickly in my experience. Because they have a whole like toughness down from lictors for some reason.
Right.
But they're 30 points more expensive.
I mean, the Hive Tyrant going down is kind of insane. Those
Hive
things are
Tyrant,
already pretty good.
Hive Tyrant going down is a little silly. Considering it's not like there's nothing bad on a Hive Tyrant.
No. So 10 points too for a single entity model is quite a bit.
Right.
It is surprising.
That's a little silly,
to say the least.
Especially because you can have Swarmlord and still take Hive Tyrants.
It seems like a lot of your good stuff kind of things are going up, but like a lot of like the things that are kind of, for lack of a better word, auto include are going down. So whatever, you know.
Especially because Trigons are like excelling in those Vanguard armies.
Yeah. Especially because, like, also, say you take a Hive Tyrant and then you take 2 Exocrines, your points don't change.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because 2 Exocrines is plus 10, but Hive Tyrant is minus 10, so whatever. Doesn't really do much there.
I personally like the Swarm Lord more because it allows you to spam rapid regen even more. But
Hmm.
I mean, this is legitimately making me think like, do I just play Hive Tyrant because that's a lot cheaper than Swarm Lord.
Yeah, I mean, you can take both.
Also,
So,
yes, you can also just take both. Also,
yeah, I mean, just Hive Tyrants are cheaper now. Great.
I've actually been thinking about making a list that's like Swarm Lord and all Hive Tyrants, and then put the Hive Tyrants in Tyrant Guard
Hmm.
blocks, and just be
Hmm.
like, good luck.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Because that sounds so obnoxious to deal with. And
I.
now that they're so much cheaper,
It's so crazy that like, um, Nids got buffs to their better central units, and then Admech just kind of got a buff to call, and it's like, okay, is all right, I guess.
I
Whatever.
am legitimately surprised that Swarm Lord did not catch any nerf. Because
Yeah.
I think there's just so many words
Oh my
on
god.
Swarm Lord, and none of them are bad.
A Hive Tyrant is more expensive than Call.
Yeah,
What the fuck, man?
and a Hive Tyrant like does so much more.
I don't know why they don't just make Call do so much more and price them like a Hive Tyrant.
Right.
Anyway, last but not least, we have World Eaters here. The Demon Prince went down 15 points to 185. The Demon Prince with Wings went down 15 points to 155. World Eaters Lord on Juggernaut went down 20 to 80 points. And then following suit, the Predator Annihilator went up 5 points to 135. And the Predator Destructor went up 10 points to 140. Every Predator, Annihilator, and Destructor has caught nerfs across like all the power armor factions.
Yeah.
So kind of taking that aside, World Eaters just kind of got buffs, but
Yeah.
it kind of went to the models that they kind of care least about. I know that like Demon Prince with Wings was good with Jackals at one point, but then they kind of changed that rule, so I don't know if people are taking Demon Princes anymore. Lord on Juggernaut, I don't know how good it is because most people just go Lord Invocatus.
Yeah.
But bar that, it's just like, I don't know. World Eaters has kind of had a weird trend where they're kind of starting to go down to the bottom of the tier list.
Yeah.
We've seen a not impressive performance with them the last 2 weeks, I believe. So this doesn't help them much. But maybe every army getting nerfed, more or less, is kind of going to help them get up a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, can't they take Scarbrand?
They can take Angron.
Oh, I don't know if they can take Scarbrand along with them. I don't know if they can ally demons like that. Okay, well then. Well, they still have Angron.
Yeah, they still have that. Yeah.
Yeah. World Eaters is, they're more of like a meta dependent kind of list. Like they got changed quite a bit where like first you ran Berserkers, then you ran 8-bound, you always run Angron. I think they're only ever gonna shift based on the rest of the game than what they get themselves, at least with these changes. So I don't know. We'll see.
World Leaders is an army that I've wanted to try out, but every single time I start making an army, I'm like, oh right, the only thing that this does is run forward and hit them with axes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge World Eaters fan too. I would build the army if it wasn't for me just kind of liking the aesthetic of CSM a little bit more because I like the demonic part of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know a little bit about them for the most part, and I know that most of the units that are getting points drops here aren't exactly the best. I will say, World Eater's Lord on Juggernaut going down 20 points to now be 80. I don't know exactly what they do, but 20 points down on a leader is pretty big.
80
So,
points. What you get is... I'm looking at the data sheet right now.
Okay.
And I mean, for 80 points, this is kind of insane.
Yeah, I mean,
because this can lead Exalted 8-bound. So that's 80 points, and you give your 8-bound, you can reroll any or all of the following of Advanced, Charge, and Blood Surge rules, but that's for partners.
Yep.
Then they get Bloody Stampede. So
that's kind of like the Crash.
Yeah, exactly. And then also himself, he has 7 weapon skill 2 plus strength 6, AP minus 1 d2 attacks, and then the Juggernaut 4 3 up. strength 6 implements 1d2 or d2 lance extra attacks, and then he's a plus pistol.
Yeah, looking at the stat line and like the melee weapons, it's not the most impressive.
No.
But I think at 80 points, you just start taking things.
Yeah, for 80 points, and then
yeah,
2-up armor save, T6, 7 wounds. It's not bad.
no, it's not. He's almost half the price of Lord and Custodes himself, and you can only take one of those guys. So, at least I think you can only take one of them. I think he's a
Lord
main
and Custodes
character.
hero, yeah.
Yeah. So, maybe.
I might try it.
But that's everything that I have been able to gather, at least. Again, do your due diligence, check what happened with your army. I tried my best to compile everything in a short span of time, as thorough as I could. But I'm also running on like 2 hours of sleep. So, yeah, any parting thoughts that you have with all this data slate and points changes overall?
I think.
I mean, the demons is a big one, right?
Yeah, I'm not happy about that. I mean, I love basically no changes for Tyranids other than 5 points on an Exocrine, which, like, who cares? Which, like, I'm gonna have to adjust my Tyranid army a little bit. But I only play one Exocrine. A lot of people play like a million. And I've toyed back and forth with playing more Exocrines. But it's an insignificant nerf.
Yeah, for the most part.
The big change, in my opinion, is the Neurolictor buff. Neurolictor's ability is really good, and it forces a Battle Shock test every turn or every command phase. It's just that they're 90 points. And Elictor is 60. Elictor is 60 with better stats.
Yeah.
And that's generally how I like to use my lictors. Neurolictors are more of like a debuff unit, which is weird in my opinion on your infiltrator.
Little bit.
But you can it's like to set it up. Like you can set up your charge really easily.
Right.
At least. But yeah, I think at least for the armies that I play, which is Tyranids and Demons, Tyranids, we basically didn't lose anything. And
right?
Demons, we got a really good detachment. But I really do think that we're getting pushed further and further away from actually playing demon units and more towards having Be'lakor in our army and then Heretic Astartes.
Yeah, like some CSM support.
Right.
Yeah, it feels really targeted towards Slaanesh. Like
right.
I understand nerfing Legion of Excess, but just like completely shitting on Slaanesh as a whole.
Yeah. I'm sad. I really do think that Great Unclean Ones with that point nerf are gonna be a little unplayable. Outside of Demonic Incursion, even then, it's like, do you really want a 300 point unit that is just sort of a bullet sponge? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean,
because even like their damage output is just not good. Even with the buffs, I think it's still not good. The
yeah,
D6 plus 1, turning the Bile Sword into a las cannon. Las cannons are underwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's like
especially when you don't have that much
because I only got 1 strength, right?
No, it's 10 now, but
okay. Well, that's a little bit better, but it's still like a strictly worse las cannon with lethal hits. So,
yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to gauge demons. The thing that makes it really difficult too is that like, it's really hard to gauge them when there's been so much changes back to back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I made the prediction that Demons was going to go the way of the Legions, which it seems to be coming true, with like, Emperor's Children Codex now reflecting what Slaanesh is gonna be, and now that's like Demons is getting a bit too much support, it kind of seems like they might just like blend them into the Legions. So it's going to be more like you're gonna focus on the Legions with Demon support rather than Demons being its own thing and maybe taking CSM every once in a while. So well, yeah, it's really hard to gauge considering how much changes are coming. Like, sure, Legion of Excess was destroying stuff, but like, how are we going to gauge how good it is when their data sheets got significantly worse, and so did the army rule?
Yeah, Legion of Excess is dead, in my opinion.
I think it is too. I don't think it's coming back.
I mean, I think I'm saying that Demonic Incursion is a better detachment for demons, but I think the new one is going to be the best detachment because all of your battle line are kind of bad.
Yeah,
because
and
they
you're only
die
getting more.
really easily. And when you can have Space Marines instead of demons, you're gonna have that instead. The best like non-greater demon unit, in my opinion, is Flamers, and you can only have 3 of them. And they just don't do anything. Like Soul Grinders, no one cares. All the beast units are like bad or fine. Like Fleshhounds are not like irredeemably bad, like Screamers are, in my opinion.
Right.
Fiends are, I mean, they're bad now.
Well, now
Beasts
they're
and Nurgle
pretty
are
bad.
fine, but they just don't do anything. But like you can get units with equivalent or better durability than a beast with Heretic Astartes, and it's going to actually kill something.
Right. Yeah, I think you're definitely filling in the gap of like durable infantry and dangerous infantry at that.
Right.
Because like warp talons are fucking
gross.
So,
like,
yeah.
If you look
especially
at the mounted units, even like none of these do anything.
Yeah, and especially when all your CSM just have deep strike now. Like,
right.
Jesus,
like,
they're basically demons.
There is no reason to go demonic incursion anymore. Especially since the primary things that you were going demonic incursion for were the endless gift braid and clean one, and a Lord of Change with the Everstave.
I mean, yeah, you were basically just running like greater demon circus, and now you lost Shalaxi.
You lose Shalaxi's dead. Greater clean ones, in my opinion, are a lot worse. Lord of
Be'lakor got better.
Be'lakor got way better, which is great.
Yeah, but I think he's better utilized in the other detachment than in an incursion.
Right.
Right.
And
it's better in Shadow
Lord of
Legion.
Change is kind of just not very good without the Everstave. Because, I mean, the gun range is 18 inches, which kind of sucks.
Do you think that maybe the Scarbrand plus the Be'lakor buff is enough to keep you in demonic incursion? Because there was really big price hikes across the board. Because Be'lakor did take 50, and so did the Guo with endless gifts. Like now, your prices definitely went up for demonic incursion, but 2 of your units got like significantly better.
Yeah, I mean Scarbrand is good, but
I guess it just depends whether you can make up for like just not taking Shalaxi at all at this point.
Yeah, it's just the loss of like there is no replacement for Shalaxi's ability to delete like the large problems. Like Scarbrand can do damage to them, right? Because he has a big weapon attack. He has this big damage. You can take also in the same army a Bloodthirster with the Great Axe of Khorne, and give it the Argath, and those are strength 17 attacks.
But it's not Shalaxi.
But it's not Shalaxi, right? Because the insane upside of Shalaxi was Monarch of the Hunt, giving you full rerolls on literally everything. Like if Shalaxi charged a monster or a vehicle, it was dead.
Yeah.
Kaladesh grav tanks cannot survive a round of combat with Shalaxi.
Right.
Bloodthirsters and Scarbrands have, on paper, a similar damage output to Shalaxi, but without those rerolls, you can get fucked by the dice.
Right. Yeah, and it's hard to gauge, man. It really is.
I don't know. Like, I'm trying to like theory craft a list right now, and I have a Bloodthirster and Scarbrand because you need something that hits.
Yeah, you definitely do. Yeah, because Guo's not gonna do it.
Kairos, I think, because you have to buff up that Lord of Change and like give yourself a little bit more stuff. I don't know. With the Flamer buffs, maybe you take more Flamers, and like that's basically your battle line because Plague Bearers are worthless because they don't do anything.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. There was some portions of demons that weren't touched, which maybe you start considering those like Bloodletters, but even then it's like you really have to look at.
It's just too fragile. They're just
you look at something like when you're kind of making exceptions and trying to rationalize something in demonic incursion, and I think when you start doing that, you start kind of eyeballing Shadow Legion more, and then you just keep saying, okay, well, why not that? You know, why not just default to that?
Bloodletters, like, they're too slow. They're too fragile. They can excel. They can do very well, but you have to take other units to really push them over. And it takes your unit. I mean, I can go over to my my Blood Legion army, right? So if you want your Bloodletters to really excel, you want them to have a Bloodmaster or a Skull Taker, So that is taking your 110 point unit. You're now 175 points, and then you also want a Ren Master on Blood Throne, even though they got nerfed a while back. You still need that buff to make Blood Letters like a really terrifying unit.
Yeah,
And it's a huge investment.
it's gonna be very interesting to see how Demons handles itself, because at the same time of it getting a really new detachment that looks awesome, it's also taking a lot of hits in other directions. So
because we're basically getting like the AOS nerf of just like Slanesh. We just don't want it in the game anymore.
Yeah, it's really up in the air.
I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to see.
Yeah.
It's really up in the air. I have no idea what we're gonna do.
I like, and at least for your armies, for mine, I mean, I really didn't get touched this data slate.
Right.
Like, again, not to like hammer the point too hard, but like call is still kind of like a do you take them?
Right.
I mean, 135 points is 2 Skitari, basically.
Yeah. With 80-point newer lictors, I will be doing major overhauls to my Tyranid list. Because they're so good.
I don't know. I might throw call in a list. Again, I'm not exactly impressed.
Yeah.
But he's kind of just reaching that point where he's like, he's so cheap that it's almost like, why not? At the very least with call, he's just a very, very durable battle line aura for your army rule.
Right.
But that's it. That's all he's ever gonna be. Like, good. Like, I reroll 1 to hit, maybe, I guess, but like, I don't know. You know. I think he's just kind of like, he's kind of gonna be a reroll 1 to hit aura in the beginning of the game, and then as you start losing battle line, he might just switch over to battle line to continuously give buffs, because he's hard to shift, right? Like, he's surprisingly durable as opposed to the rest of our army. I just don't know where this really changes the composition of Admech at all. Like, you're not taking Dominus, I don't think. Like, he's still not good enough. So especially because the units that he can like do very well with are also a little bit underwhelming. Like, I don't know, it's just oh, we'll see, I guess.
This was rough, honestly.
Yeah, Chaos Space Marine, the Forge Fiend getting cheaper is nice, but I don't think you're gonna like windmill slam 3 into your lists.
Right.
Mephitic Blight Hauler's changing in Death Guard. Again, it's only 5 points. It's awesome. Yeah, hey, any buff to Mephitic Blight Hauler,
I love Blight Haulers. It's such a cool model.
Just 5 points isn't like changing anything. I think you're still going to see a bunch of Death Threat Terminator in Plague Company. Right. The only thing that I'm very excited for in this detachment in this data slate is the new Tau detachment. That thing looks so fucking cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good. I kind of skimmed over the rules and I was like, it seems very situational, like only giving one gun a buff in one model.
Right.
But fuck it. You know what I mean? Like,
we can do a game. We can stream it where it's you playing the new detachment. I'll try World Eaters, or either that or the new Chaos Demon detachment.
Yeah, I would be down to try Tau. I still have to kind of freshen myself up in their army rule, because I know how it works. I just, every single time I have to actually do it, I slow the fuck down. So, but no, I would be down to try something like that.
Yeah,
so maybe look forward to that.
Legion of Shadow, and you'll do the new Tau army or detachment.
And then I'll just get bodied.
I mean, maybe. I have no idea.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the only thing I really care for in this data slate. Honestly, for as much as I was like, you know, keeping my eye and my ear to the ground to try to seek out for it, nothing really changed for me. It seems like Demons was the bigger change, and even then it's like, it's such an ambiguous shift on where it can go that it's kind of even hard to tell how you feel about it.
Right.
So
I mean, we're gonna find out. I may have to drop Demons because they just aren't fun anymore. They're not cool, and just go to something else.
Nids.
I mean, Nids is always gonna be my main army.
Yeah.
My alt army, you know, that can change.
Yeah, and I guess we'll also see how Sisters does, because I know that they've been the loudest army crying for buffs, and we'll see. But I think that just about wraps it up.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the data slate. Third time. Please check to make sure that I got everything right. Don't trust me. I'm not I'm not like 100% certain that I got everything right, but I did my due diligence. Obviously, you can see the rules over at the Warhammer community. Just go to the downloads. Everything should be there. It's a little bit scattered, but for the most part, I think unless you're one of the big affected armies, you should just be able to find it in the data slate and then the Minotaurian field manual. So check in with that. If you use third-party tools like Wahapedia or not 39K, Wahapedia or New Recruit, just keep in mind that a lot of those patches are going to have to take a while, especially this big of a data slate with so many things scattered everywhere. Yeah.
Take a while.
So just make sure that you keep your eye on the points and stuff, because they might not properly reflect for, I think last time it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a while.
So I mean, we could just play with old data slate rules until then. I'm not necessarily like super foaming at the mouth to try the new stuff. But bar that, I think we'll wrap up. Where can they find you?
I have a YouTube channel that I'll eventually get around to actually moving up with, is at Omni and Manta 7, and then I am gonna start streaming on Twitch again, same name, Omni and Manta 7, and I guess eventually I'll have to do like social media stuff, but I'll do that later, I guess.
Yeah, well, and speaking of streaming, we'll try to get in a battle report here soon. It's just that I have a very tight schedule this month, so
yeah, and don't.
Yeah, I'm working like graveyard shifts, so I'm usually awake when you're asleep. As for me, you guys already know where you can find me, I would hope. Just so you guys know, if you don't already, there's a new Discord channel. I know a lot of you guys have been already coming into it, a lot more than I thought would. I know that I was kind of hesitant on starting a Discord, but then everyone just kind of came flooding in, and I was like, okay, shit.
I'm actually not in your Discord, so I'll do that.
I'll send you an invite. Yeah. So yeah, be sure to check it out there. I've added like bots and stuff, so you guys know when videos are coming out, when I'm going live on Twitch, which I'm usually just playing Monster Hunter. But I do try to announce if we're doing a battle report, because those are the ones that people tend to want to tune into the most.
Yeah.
And then I guess stay tuned for 1, new videos, 2, potential battle reports with the new stuff. I don't know if I'm going to be playing AdMech live, to be honest. I'll probably be trying Tau. And that just about wraps it up. So thank you guys for listening. I really need to go to sleep. But you will hear from me shortly after this, I'm sure on social media or something. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye. A special thank you to all my patrons at the Engine Center tier, and a special thank you to the fabricators, being Dr. Jones, Snufalu Fogus, Sig Lawson Jr., Makito, Tech Priest Thorn, Brian Coleman, and Redeemer. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate the help.